The accomplishments I would like to highlight this evening reflect their commitment and ongoing collaboration between the administration and the Board of Education. I would also like to thank my fellow board members for their service and commitment to our district and offer special thanks to Treasurer Lisa McIntyre, who served as our board president at the beginning of the year. Thank you. While this list does not begin to encompass all the wonderful accomplishments taking place across Northville Public Schools, I would like to highlight several areas of progress from the past year. Continued healthy labor relations with each of our employee groups, launch of our new award-winning district website and refreshed school logos, expansion of our social and emotional therapy dog program, completion and adoption of a new strategic plan facilitated by the Michigan Association of School Boards and informed by extensive community engagement, board subcommittee policy work leading to the adoption of a new policy manual, formation of a board subcommittee to select a consulting firm for the district's master planning process, AI task force work leading to the development of an AI framework, interaction scale, and a more focused set of tools resulting in a projected savings of more than $72,000. Audit results showing the 2024-25 budget concluded within 1% of projections. Continued focus on maintaining a fiscally responsible fund balance. Trial and adoption of a new reading program aligned with the expectations of recent state legislation. Continued bond projects improving and updating schools throughout the districts whose need was highlighted as Meads Mill, Silver Springs, and Winchester each celebrated 50 years. These accomplishments represent only a small portion of the outstanding work taking place throughout our district. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to thank our building administrators, teachers, support staff, families, community members, and most importantly, our students who inspire all that we do. Finally, I would be remiss if I did not mention the non-homestead operating millage replacement that will be on the ballot August 4th. This is not a tax on primary residences and would replace our current millage that is expiring next year. In what I would argue is our unnecessarily complex education funding system in Michigan, the state assumes that school districts collect this millage at the local level. If this does not pass, the state does not make up the difference, meaning Northville Public Schools could face a $11 million annual shortfall. Please learn more about this ballot measure and vote on or before August 4th. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to me, and let's rise for the pledge.
Awesome.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll. President Meyer,
Here.
Vice President Stewart,
Here.
Treasurer McIntyre.
I'm here. Good evening.
Good evening. Trustee Frazier.
Here.
Trustee Mabry will join us a little bit later. Trustee Regenmauer.
Here.
And Secretary Voitel, I'm here.
All right. That brings us to the adoption of our agenda.
Okay, I'll bring forth motion 125 that the agenda be adopted as presented.
Support.
Oh, wow, okay.
We're so in support of that.
I have a motion probably presented by Vice President Stewart and supported by Treasurer McIntyre. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that brings us to our consent resolutions.
Okay, I'll bring forth motion 126 that the board accept the consent agenda items for approval as presented. And that's 5A, minutes of the June 16th, 2026 special call meeting of the Board of Education. 5B, minutes of the June 16th, 2026 closed session meeting of the Board of Education. 5C, the 2026-27 Board of Education meeting schedule. 5D, VEX robot kits totaling $23,999.97. 5E, Lightspeed filter and classroom management purchase from Lightspeed Direct totaling $41,495. 5F, Ammerman Elementary masonry change order totaling $39,482.63. 5B, schedule a public hearing on July 7th, 2026 regarding policy 5207, anti-bullying, at 5:30 p.m. at Old Village School, followed by a regular Board of Education meeting scheduled for 6:30 p.m. at Old Village School.
Support.
All right, I have a motion probably presented by Vice President Stewart, supported by Treasurer McIntyre. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That brings us to our communications.
All right. We have had two sources of communications since we last met. NPSBOE at northvilleschools.org would be one of them, and the other one is the June 26th board highlights from Wayne Risa.
Thank you. And that brings us to you, Dr. Weber.
Yes, and we're going to go ahead and start. I want to thank our athletic director, Brian Smolsky. Please, he's been milking this all night. Don't let him make you think that I made him come in. All right? That's what he's telling people. It's not accurate. But it does show the commitment that Brian has. He had a pretty major operation just over a week ago, and just really wanted to be here tonight because of, I think, every student and coach and hopefully parent knows the commitment that Mr. Smolsky has to each of you in educational athletics. So take it away, Mr. Smolsky. Thank you for being here.
All right.
Thank you to your
Thank you,
son.
sir.
We'll give Connor a shout out. He drove you here,
Yeah.
which works at Genetti's. Fantastic. And then you got a ride home, right? Okay, good. Check. Oh, well, we'll see.
And Connor's only going to hold it all against me. So,
All right.
you
Well,
know,
good
he's
luck.
already tired of helping me out. Again, good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Weber and Dr. Weber's team. Thank you for having us. I say this every time, but it's so nice to be in a district that values education and athletics and understands the importance that it has on all these young people here and the influence it has on their lives as they move on to college once they get to that grade. All of you should have gotten this. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, obviously. I wanted to give a shout out to Mrs. Lamerson, who works in the athletic office with me, for putting this together. A couple pages I just wanted to point out. If you look all the way to the back after the teams, team GPAs, we have this posted in the hallway too. But I think this is pretty impressive. Every one of our teams at Northville and their overall GPA, every single team is above a 3.1. Wow. So again, stressing the importance of educational athletics. All those championships on that slide up there are outstanding. But this is really what it's all about, and what they do after school helps them succeed in the classroom. So when you look at those numbers, pretty amazing. And I put those numbers up against any other school in the state of Michigan on their GPAs. So I wanted to point that out. Also, the next page after that, the college signing day, that was one of our bigger ones that we had this year. And again, just a great group of kids moving on to choose to go to the collegiate level, and then just a wide range of schools. So when you get a chance, also check that out. Over front of it, over 1,400 student athletes play at least one sport at the high school. And in the district, I looked at it today, 2,300 students, middle school and high school, participate in educational athletics. They play at least one sport for us here in Northville. So I think that's awesome. So please check it out. If you did not get one, let us know. We'll get more over here if we need to get more in central office. And we're going to go ahead and start now with spring sports. Had an outstanding spring season. We're honoring 8 teams tonight that won a championship in the state, at least won one championship in the state tournament. And we're going to go ahead and start off with baseball. So Coach Malley is here. He's going to come up, talk a little bit about the team. Are we going to want to do pictures after?
Yeah, I was just going to say that as Coach Malley makes his way up here, if we could all stay, and then once we conclude with that, what I'm going to do is in the same order you came up, so baseball will be first. I'm going to ask you to come and stand behind our board so we can get a picture. If there are parents in the group that would like to do that as well, please do so. If you just want to grab a picture, I suggest kind of getting in the middle there to take a good one. Coach, how we doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to be here. Thank you guys for having us here tonight, and really appreciate the opportunity to be recognized. for another great baseball season for Northville High School. Really appreciate Mr. Samalski and Mr. Koski at our building level, just tremendous supporters of our baseball team and our athletics program in general. I've been teaching now 23 years, and coaching that whole time. I can't imagine teaching and coaching in a better place than Northville. So very, very fortunate to be the head coach. We won our district this year for the 5th straight year. Very challenging to do in baseball, and an impressive streak that we have going. A quick thing about our team in our later part of the season, we played 24 innings in our district playoff, over 3 games, and our team only let up 2 runs in those 24 innings. So our pitching and our defense was outstanding, and that was really the case all throughout the spring. It's a result of a lot of hard work by our guys and our coaching staff. We won 10 of our last 11 games, and the only 2 losses that we had towards the end of the season were both to eventual state championship teams. Neither were public schools, I'll just say that. We had a kind of a motto throughout the season that we used, which we kind of coined the phrase to max out our opportunities as a team and as individual players, and I felt very good about our ability that we did that throughout the spring. And we talked about all throughout the end of the season that somebody was going to have to play very, very good to beat us. And that was the case, and I'm really proud to say that. Some other things that I just wanted to make note of, some off-the-field things that we did that I thought were really kind of memorable for me as a coach. We put on a kids camp over 2 days in the early spring. Over 100 young kids from Northville participated in the way our players interacted with them and coached them and made a fun experience for them over 2 days was fantastic. It was probably my favorite thing that I got to watch and observe and be a part of throughout the springtime. We also participated as an entire program with the Miracle League in Plymouth. So every one of our players was there and partnered with a special needs baseball player for the day, and that was a great day. And lastly, we had an outstanding presence at an event called the SJ 5K over at the Plymouth Canton Educational Park, and had just a great turnout of people and support there from our baseball program for the 2nd straight year, and something that we're going to continue to do. Lastly, we have 4 of our seniors who are going to continue to play at the college level. Liam Freese will be playing at Olivet College. Mac Hart will be at Hope College. Vito Mixitz is going to Rochester Institute of Technology in New York and playing. And Max Samhat will be playing at Macomb Community College. So always a wonderful thing as a coach to get to see some players chase their dreams and continue to play baseball beyond. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity tonight.
Congratulations to Mike and his baseball team on a great season. They did knock my son out of the district tournament, so that didn't go over great at the house. But up next is girls soccer. Do we have any girls soccer here? They didn't. The coaches couldn't make it, so they weren't sure if any players were going to be here. All right, girls soccer. They did have a great year. They won the Kelly Division Championship. Won the MHSA District Championship, and lost to Heartland in the regional finals, which would have put us in the final 16 of the state. So I think they went 18-2-1 over the whole year. So they had a great year, ranked in the top 10 the majority of the year. Great group of young ladies that competed hard, just couldn't beat Heartland in that regional final game. But they had an outstanding season. So that was girls soccer. Up next, I believe, is going to be girls track and field and boys track and field. So we'll have Coach Dalton come up here and handle both those teams and those 500 athletes.
37. Thank you. Not quite 500 this year, 280. But first, thanks to the board and Dr. Weber for honoring our kids tonight. And Dr. Weber, I say it every year, I'm so impressed as a superintendent how he makes the time to come to our events, dual meets, the regional meet out at Novi High School. Always appreciated. As I said,
I'm a little disappointed you wouldn't let me run in one of the events. That's okay. I'd probably age out. As I said, 280 boys and girls in the program. The names on the screen are the kids that are here tonight represent our state finals crew that went on to the MHSAA state championships. I'm going to give you some numbers, kind of our streaks going, because I think that gives you a good idea of how our teams did. Our girls track and field team won the KLA division for the 12th year in a row. They won the conference for the 11th time in the past 13 years and regional champs for 14 years in a row. One of the girls made the comment to me, next year there'll be kids on the team that were not born the last time they didn't win a regional title. The boys, very similar, won the division for the 5th straight year, conference champ for the 5th straight year, and regional champs for the 6th year in a row. 22 kids qualified for the MHS8 finals. 11 of those 22 earned all-state honors. We did have 2 school records set this year. One of them is here tonight. And to also give you an idea, boys track and field in Northville, 1908 was the first year, and girls was 1921. So over 100 years, thousands of kids, and these 2 set school records. The first one is Brandon Cloud. Brandon, we give a wave. Brandon loves the spotlight, but no, he's only a junior. Was state champion in the 2 mile. He ran 9:01, so it's about 4:30 average per mile. He's committed to U of M, but we do get him back next year as a senior. The other school record that was broke, he's not here tonight, is Ryan Shuckle. He broke the shot put record. He threw 56.5 and a quarter. And the neat thing about that was he broke his brother's shot put school record.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I do want to touch on the couple kids we have here tonight. Ryan Stoge, you give a wave. He's off to U of M, committed to run there next year. All-state athlete, 4x8, 800, and 4x4 this year. Ella Corby, hiding in the back. Ella, give us a wave. She was all-state in the 4x8 relay. Ethan Anton is a junior. He'll be a big piece next year. He was an alternate on our 4x8 relay. Colette Lozo, where are you? Colette was a big piece of our 4x8, which was all state, 4x4, and the 800. And the last 2 kids I'll mention, Lucia, who was a dual sport athlete, so impressive. She was on the state championship tennis team and also doubled in track. She has the 6th fastest all-time time in the 2 mile and 10:48 for girls, and did that while playing tennis in her first year of track and field. The last kid I'll mention, he's not here tonight, but his parents, I saw him back there, which is so impressive to me. It speaks volumes of who they are. Ben Hardigan, he was a DAC, the Detroit Athletic Club nominee for Athlete of the Year, high school male athlete of the year, and as accomplished as he is on the track, just a phenomenal person. So Hardigan, thanks for being here. Did I miss anybody? Kids? Did I get you all? Lastly, I do want to acknowledge, with 280 kids, our coaches. We had 15 coaches. I take a lot of pride in that. There's 17 events in track and field, from shot put, hurdles, high jump. They're all very specific. And so to have high quality instruction for each one of those, truly appreciate our coaches. Thanks so much, and congratulations to all the athletes here tonight.
Congratulations to both track programs. And if you ever get a chance to get out and see a meet, 280 kids on our teams, and then the meet versus Novi, it is quite a scene. And it's very impressive what Tim and his staff does to run such a organized, functional meet where we can get it out at a decent time. And with my new hip, I'm looking forward to pushing all those runners this fall. You and Dr. Weber run a race.
Is there a 10-meter race?
Up next is boys volleyball. I know our coach Harrison's here. He's going to come up and speak on the season. This year was the first year boys volleyball was an MHSA sport. And the first year at Northville as an MHSA sport, these guys did an outstanding job.
Thank you. Hey guys, I'm Harrison Asher, assistant coach here on behalf of Naya. She couldn't be here, unfortunately, but she did write some words here that I'll now tell you guys. This season was nothing short of remarkable. If one word had to describe these boys, it would be perseverance, because they never stopped fighting. Not for a win, but for who they wanted to be and what they wanted to represent. Mid-season, we had to do some soul searching. We had to ask ourselves how we wanted to be remembered and how we wanted to represent this school and this program going forward. And these boys answered that question every single day. That identity, that grit is what drove them to conquer at regionals and carry that momentum all the way to the state semifinals. It wasn't easy, but they never stopped pushing for themselves and for each other and for this school. And that's something we're celebrating. And also, want to give a special shout out to Connor, because he could be here. Our libero, very, very good libero. So.
All right, up next is our rowing program. Coach Nick couldn't make it here tonight. He's doing learn to row lessons, but Jacob is here and is going to speak on behalf of the rowing team.
Good evening. My name is Jacob Hudaima, and I'm honored to speak on behalf of Northville Rowing and Coach Nick, who unfortunately could not be here tonight. This was a very successful season for our program. Our team finished second overall at Midwest and Michigan State Championships, and we qualified 7 boats to the Scholastic Rowing Association of America National Championship Regatta, including our Women's Junior 8, which became the first Northville 8 to qualify for nationals. We also sent 3 boats to U.S. Rowing Youth Nationals, the men's varsity straight 4, women's straight 4, and men's varsity single, where our crews got to compete against some of the best crews in the country, where our men's varsity 4 won the B final, Liam Stewart in the men's single made the C final, and our women's varsity 4 won 3rd. And a major contributor to this success was our first ever spring break training trip, where our athletes got to spend a lot of time training together, building stronger team chemistry, and put in the work to compete at some of the highest levels in the season. That preparation also helped us to continue performing through the challenges we faced, including many equipment setbacks later in the year. This was a season where many boats were broken and out of commission, but we still pushed through, got the work in, and sent our first state to national. And these accomplishments are a reflection of the dedication of our athletes, coaches, and families. The early mornings, long practices, and commitment from everyone involved is what makes seasons like this possible. So on behalf of Northville Rowing, thank you for recognizing our team and supporting athletics in our community.
All right, up next will be our softball team. So Coach Scott, come on. Softball team, I'll let Scott talk about, but they had an outstanding year, having the best year in school history. So I'll let him get into the details of it, but it was very exciting.
Thank you, Brian, and good to see you. And to the board, thank you for allowing us all to be here. As Brian alluded to, 2026 for the softball program was history making. It actually started about probably 3 or 4 years ago when some of the players back then came to me and said, you know, we need to make some changes collectively as players to support our coaches, which was really ironic. And this team this year broke a number of records. Their overall record was 35-5, which was a school record winning percentage. Going into the year, we knew this was going to be a challenge. We had 4 openings for people who either graduated or decided to go a different direction. And having a couple good years, which was great for the softball program to get on the map, we knew that we were going to have a bullseye on our back to knock us off. And so we talked as a team and said, look, you know, we've gotten to this part, but if we want to get to the pinnacle, we're going to have to work at some little things. We've got to concentrate on getting better each and every day and understand that we're going to have to embrace hard. It's hard to stay up on top, unlike the track team who does it for decades. But anyway, for us, it was a new frontier, and we had to challenge ourselves to embrace hard. And embrace hard is not just softball. Embrace hard is every day in life. School's hard. Life's hard. And it was a lesson that I was trying to get across to the girls, and they totally embraced it. And so we had challenges that we wanted and goals that we wanted to achieve. And the first one was to three-peat, not 14-peat, but three-peat for us in the KLA, and we did that. And that's the first time in school history. We wanted to not only get into the playoffs and win the division, but we wanted to win the KLA championship, which we did. And we wanted to do the same thing in the district championship that had never been done, and we did that. So the next thing that we were challenging ourselves was to do something that hadn't been done in 14 years at the school, which was to get a regional championship. And happy to say, first time since 2012, we did that. So now we're in a whole new area beyond our goals, and one of our goals was we were not going to lose back-to-back games. That's tough to do when you're playing a lot of go home, lose or go home type games. So we went to the quarterfinal game and we faced a competitor, Hull, who we'd seen twice and we had beaten twice, and they jumped out on us very early 2-0, and we had to learn to deal with adversity and embracing hard, and we did, and come back and we won that quarterfinal game. So now that was the first time ever in school history, and now we're going off to the Final Four, which was just a great experience for the players, for the coaches. It's really something that as a coach, and I know the players, you always want to get to, but it's not easy to get to. And it was quite an experience. We lost a tough game, 2-1. A great game, great softball game. That's just the way I went. But this team embraced hard because their coach, coming into the season, put a very competitive non-conference schedule together. This team played 18 state-ranked teams. Ranked number 4 in the overall rankings for the for softball. They established 5 new records, which you would think with this big record you'd have more. It was a complete team, but the 35 wins certainly were school records. The strikeouts by the pitching staff this year, the pitching staff struck out 359 batters. It had the best fielding percentage ever in school history at .951. Had the best team ERA of 1.80, and it also had the largest number, the most number of strikeouts for people looking at 122. Just some additional highlights, as Brian alluded to, the GPA of the softball team was 3.66. We also have for a number of years with the Miracle Network. We love that. That's the most important game of the season for us. I've got a few girls here that I'd like to recognize. I've got Abby Parinello's here, senior Abby Parinello. Abby, you want to raise your hand up here? She's one of our seniors. Kendall Heron, another one of our seniors. Mia is here, and I got Olivia Smith, 4 of our players here. It was a total team, but there's also a few people I want to highlight. First of all, Kendall Heron, senior, who's going on to play in college. When you get into do-or-die games, we had to play 7 of them. And those are the ones you're going to go home. And Kendall was close to hitting 500 in those type of games, okay, and was really just a real solid leader in the number 2 spot. Olivia Smith led the team in home runs this year with 7. Our freshman Mia was just a pleasant surprise roaming in left field and started just about every game out there and was a solid 300 hitter. There's one person that I'd like to talk about a little more in detail. Mary Gugala. Mary, want to raise your hand? Mary was a 4-year varsity player here who commanded the circle for 3+ years. On the mound this year, Mary finished with a record of 32 wins and 3 losses. She recorded 338 strikeouts, which is a school record. And I'm going to stop on the school records, so I'll make it real easy for you. Every single season school record or career school record in pitching is now Mary Gugala. Mary's only losses were to number 6 ranked Grand Blanc and number 8 Salem and the eventual state champion Walled Lake Northern. Her career record is 91 wins and 15 losses, with her ending strikeout total of 860. Mary's going on to Wayne State. Mary was also selected to first team All-State, and will also be pitching in the Michigan High School All-Star game here in a few weeks. So, I couldn't be more proud of the kids and the families that supported us, the community. It was wonderful. It was a dream for a coach, but these girls stuck together, and the reason that we did what we did was because they played for each other, and they played for the name on the front of their jersey. So thank you very much.
And our last spring team that we're going to honor tonight is our girls tennis team, back-to-back state champions. So Coach Brenda can come on up. Coach Brenda was also just recently nominated for Coach of the Year yesterday. So.
Hi. Thank you to the Board of Education for inviting us to celebrate the girls tennis team and all of our spring sport athletes and coaches. First, I want to have my team stand up just real quick. I just want you to take a look at these guys. Thank you. Pretty special group of girls. Okay, sit down. Sorry. This season, our team went undefeated. We won every tournament that we played in. We won every quad. We brought back the division, regional titles, and we finished as back-to-back state champions. Each quarter of the state tournament contributed to our team total, and we had 6 flights make it to the second day for the semis and the finals, having 3 individual flight state champions. Our state association also just a couple nights ago also selected 2 all-state doubles teams, 1 all-state singles team, and 1 honorable mention single. I hope you follow us on social media because then you can take a look at everyone. They also continue to show strong commitment in the classroom, finishing as an all-state academic team with a cumulative GPA of 3.85. What made this team special was how close they were and how much they genuinely enjoyed being around each other. There was a strong sense of support, celebrating each other's wins, picking each other up after tough moments, and always putting the team first. They made the hard work fun. They made our success even sweeter because they experienced it together. Everyone contributed in their own way, all successful on the court, while some set the tone with leadership and consistency, and others made a huge impact through energy, encouragement, and being ready whenever their name was called. A true team through and through. We talked a lot about staying present, moving forward, and focusing on what we can control. This team embraced that mindset all season long. They stayed locked in, put in maximum effort, and never took anything for granted, all while continuing to build on a culture of commitment, gratitude, accountability, sportsmanship, and general care of one another. They always represented Northville with pride and a high level of respect for each of our opponents. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank my assistant coaches, families, Mr. Smolsky and Mrs. Lamerson, and the Northville community for the support that they provide to our student athletes, the school board, Dr. Anderson, I work for Dr. Anderson, Dr. Weber, and your team as well. As a coach, I'm incredibly proud of this team and grateful for the opportunity to celebrate them tonight. Thank you again for recognizing the girls.
All right, so that wraps up our spring sports celebration. Again, so cool to see just the wide range of sports that they excel in. So fortunate to be part of the team with these student athletes and coaches and families. It's very, very impressive, and we're very, very fortunate and lucky to be here. All right, so picture time.
Well, I think if the board has a couple of comments,
Okay.
maybe, and then we're going to do something a little different. You usually go in the order, but I just thought of something. And what I'd like to do is before the girls tennis team comes up with coach, I want all the coaches and Brian as well, sorry, to be behind the board. I know you don't like it, but tonight it struck me in a lot of different ways. There are times in life where people try to pit or give or statements. And Brian, I think one thing you do really well is create an and statement. The fact that our girls tennis team, out of 37 teams at Northville High School, also has the #1 GPA out of all 37 teams, and by the way, a state championship. Wow. And your grade point is not a small grade point on there. That 3.85, and to play at the level you do with the commitment shows a commitment. Later on in tonight's board meeting, we are going to hire one of our own people whose teacher showed up to watch him get hired because she taught him here in Northville in the fine arts. And we're really excited about that. The message I'm trying to give, to be really direct, is that we cannot ever get into value judgments about who's more important than others or whatnot. This is a beautiful life. It's messy. There's a lot going on in it. We all have our gifts and talents. We all have our ways. But when we have a chance to celebrate each other, we should do it. And I'm looking back there at Mary, and I'm thinking of what you just did. through your career here and so on, and the pride that your coach had in you was extraordinary. So really cool. I can't help just looking right at you. You had a big smile. Sorry, you caught me. So the board may want to make some comments, and we'll do a coach's picture. Then we're going to go with tennis. All the other coaches will leave, and then Brenna, you're going to stay, and then the girls will come up. Then we'll just rotate through. And then parents, if you want to come up in the picture, please feel free. If not, then you can take some pictures over here. So board.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, of course. Well, I have a perspective in that I was a parent of a Northville High School athlete, two of them actually, and they were both swimmers, my daughter and my son, but I have lived the life of a parent of an athlete. And there's parents here, I think, that know about the late hours, the early morning, the carb loads. I don't even know if we athletes still do carb loading anymore, but back in the day, we were eating a lot of bagels at 5 a.m. in the morning. But you know what, the theme that I picked up on, RJ, and listening to these unbelievable testimonies was what I even hesitate to call it the intangibles, but it is above all of the success, it is the mutual commitment, the willingness to embrace hard. Is that what was? I wrote that down. I'm going to put that on my desk to keep me focused also, to embrace hard, to work for the greater good of the team and make your small contribution and be ready when that time comes, because sometimes you can't predict life. So I just think that those are really the big accomplishments that overlay all of this great success. And I just am so impressed with the inspiration that every coach gave that stood up today and spoke, and what an honor to be on their teams. As I felt that. And Mr. Smolsky, thank you for creating an athletic department that makes space for all of that really important life work. So thank you very much.
Well, it isn't lost on me that school's out. So unlike all the other sports recognitions that we do, you guys don't have to worry about going back and doing homework or getting up tomorrow morning. But I really appreciate you coming out. I think we all do, because we know that this is outside of the normal school schedule, and you're probably all on summer brain, which I completely understand. So it means a lot that you took the time to come out for us to see you. I mean, I know that you're being acknowledged, but it's a big deal for us as well, because it's just a good reminder for us. I read a list of things that we've been working on throughout the school year here at our level, but this is a good reminder for us as a school board of the why. So really appreciate any kind of reminder and opportunity to hear and see from your coaches. What really struck me was what Coach DeBoer said. They played for the name on their front of their jersey. I believe we do as well. And I want you to know that it really is important to your school board, Dr. Weber, and the administrative team, that you are always front of mind in things and decisions that we make. So I hope everyone has an excellent summer. And for those of you who aren't returning, we wish you all the best, and we appreciate that you shared your time and talents with us. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, I was also going to underscore the pride and honor to represent the name on your jerseys. I think that is a really special thing to be a Northville student. And it's not lost on me either. I think a couple coaches mentioned that in their final game of the season, who they lost to was not a public school. And I just want to underscore that everyone made the choice to come to Northville and to wear Northville on your jerseys and on your uniforms. And I just think that is a really special gift to yourselves, to your families, and also to our community, that I'm proud to hear you say that that is something that you're proud to wear as well.
Lisa stole my comment. But I think Coach Malley mentioned, I think the only two losses they had were to non-public school teams. And look what we do here in Northville with the minimum foundation allowance, without the donations, without the salaries to pay the coaches, and all of the things. You should all be so proud of yourselves, not only as the athletes, but as Dr. Campbell-Boytel suggested or mentioned, all of the parents who are there, driving your kids to practice and picking them up and making sure they have the right size of everything. My 6-year-old just made his first travel team, and I am terrified about what my life is about to look like. He already needs new cleats. So, it's a thing. So thank you again for everybody for making that commitment to Northville and to our kids.
Awesome. All right, so coaches first. So every coach, come on up and stand behind the board. And Brian, if you could, can you? You're mobile enough to do it? No. Yes, you are. And then
and you have so many personal anecdotes of
Yeah.
things that you saw, I
Yeah.
think speaks to your dedication
Oh,
and the
thank
fact
you.
that was mentioned before about all the events that you somehow,
Yeah.
I don't know how
It's
you get
truly-
to all these things,
thank
but that
you.
you make too, because otherwise that definitely informs your, your ability to speak about the great things that we're seeing.
Well,
throughout the
thank you.
district and our
I think
team.
the only way to quote unquote play the game of life is be in the game of life. And so to me, it's really a privilege to go watch these kids having some of their best moments. But as one of the folks we're going to hire tonight was instrumental in helping me get out and play at halftime with the marching band, play guitar while they were performing. And it's just, it's the only way I know, is you've got to get in it and experience this life to really have an understanding. But thank you for noting that. And just know it's never an obligation. It's genuinely a pleasure.
We're still trying to get them out in
In a
a
boat.
boat on.
You guys got to stop
Kensington
crashing
Lake.
them. The young man
I
who was
know.
talking, he didn't really say, like, one of the reasons that some of our boats is because they weren't paying attention and ran into a fishing boat.
Both
So get me on a
he
safe
and
boat.
my son were in that
Stuart,
boat,
get me in a
so I
safe boat.
can't-
All right,
I
get me in a
can't
safe
comment.
boat. Thank
No
you.
comment.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about Let's.
We need to do public comment.
We did go through this in more detail, but we're going to do just a general, broad overview. And again, feel free to chime in if I need to slow down, knowing I'm going much faster this week. And the same way we started our conversation about data in the fall, we recognize that there's lots of data. We've got our big picture satellite data, which is our MSTEP, PSAT, SAT data. That's the stuff that the state gives us to lead. Now, we also have, when we zoom in a little bit further, our mapping data. This is stuff like iReady. Again, iReady is one of the state-required benchmark assessments, but we give it internally. We can do it multiple times throughout the year. Other examples of MapView data might be perception surveys or other benchmark assessments that we might build internally. And then we zoom in even further to what we call our Street View data. And that includes formative assessment, including conversations, some of which I'll share with you about conversations I had with kids on the day of the iReady test, or student focus group.
I'm really sorry to interrupt, but I notice your mic is on red,
Yeah.
and we definitely want this to.
I apologize.
Be
Do I
recorded.
need to start again?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
Thank you so much. So we have all these types of data. We've, again, big picture data, that's that big satellite view, our map view data zoomed in a little bit more, and then our street view data. And we look for patterns over years, but also patterns in the types of data we collect, and we use that to inform next steps as a district. And today, I am just talking about one of our data points, which is Spring iReady, and that's map view data. And we are when you'll notice, I'll highlight some celebrations and some questions to explore. And those are things that not just the team, our cool team here, but also building leaders and also teacher teams are already digging in and exploring as we think about how to better support our students. We had two big priorities when we were rolling out iReady as a benchmark assessment this year for the first time with all K-8 students. One of them was about growth. Many districts that are like us could just sort of rest on their achievement, knowing that our students are very strong performers, but we said we don't just care about performing well, we also want to focus on growth. And so our goal was that for each group of students, we would aim to exceed 100% median progress towards typical growth. And I'll speak to that a little bit more in a second. We also wanted to increase the data-driven dialogues. We wanted to support our teachers in having good conversations, safe conversations where they could be vulnerable about their data, where they could talk together and say, hey, this is an area I'm wondering about with my students. Could we talk about this and can you help me support my kids better? And so supporting teachers in not only how to access their data, how to analyze their data, and then how to zoom in all the way down to the student level and say, how can I better support this child? And how can I work with my peers at the same grade level and my principal to better support each kid? So when we talk about goals, when we think about goals with individual children, our goal is that every child makes their 1 year's progress in 1 year's time. So when we talk to kids, we say, we're going for that 100%. Come on, we're going to get our 100% growth this year.
When we talk about groups of students, whether we're talking about as a district, our goal is 100% median progress towards that annual typical growth. That means if you line up all the kids, that middle student has crossed over that 100% line. And that would be for all kids, K-8 in our district. That's our, as a district level. If I'm a building principal, that's all kids in my building. If I am a classroom teacher, that's all kids in my class. If I'm a group of teachers working together for a grade level team, they're going to say all kids in first grade. So those are the conversations we're having about groups of students. There is another type of growth that we do talk about, which is stretch growth. And stretch growth is particularly important for students who are behind 1 or more years. Because if you want to get caught up, you have to make more than 1 year's progress in 1 year's time. And we want to point out that historically, nationally, between 25% and 35% of individual students meet these aspirational gains. But as a district, we would love for as many kids as possible to make this, but we want to emphasize that it is harder to do this the higher your proficiency is. So we want to caution families from really stressing out their children about stretch growth, knowing that it depends on where they're at. And I'm going to explain that a little bit. Everybody's typical growth and stretch growth is dependent on their own individual score and their grade level. So if you notice students that are 2 or more grade levels or 3 or more grade levels behind, we are focusing on those students. And if you'll look at their stretch growth, that's that turquoise band. In order to get to on level, that's a very big stretch. And we are going for that. We really want to do that to support our students. What can we do to support them to find those skill gaps and help them stretch their growth? But if you are a student that's already on or above grade level, there is a stretch growth goal for you, but that's going to be harder to do because that is beyond the scope of your grade level standards. And B, it's also it's not as necessary because you are already on level. So it's necessary for individual growth and to be aspirational, but in terms of making sure you have the ability to access grade level instruction, it's not as crucial. And so that's why as a district, we are really focusing on typical growth, that 1 year's growth in 1 year's time.
And Emily, great conversation around, it's like climbing a mountain. The higher you are in an achievement, growth is just going to be harder. It's just the way it is. But from an emphasis standpoint, I really appreciate what we're getting into now is this is a data presentation that hadn't been done in the past. Typically, we would do one a year in the fall. But I love the fact that we're putting the marker out and this board put the marker out, that it's growth that we're looking at. And the segment of kids, and this goes back to a comment I made earlier, it's not a deficit mindset. It's not an or mindset. We can provide opportunities for students at every level, and we do. The resources that we put into those levels, we have choices to make on those resources, and we've allocated resources to many students throughout. But when you look at this notion of what it means to take a kid who might be 2 or 3 levels below and focus as much energy as we possibly can to get them on grade level, I love the fact that we're holding ourselves accountable in this way rather than saying we have high achieving kids and moving on. So thank you for the teachers' work on this, your work on this, and so many people who got us to a night that we've been talking about as a board for 2 years now. I asked you to evaluate me on growth, not on achievement. And now we're starting to see the very beginning manifestation of that. And it's going to hold us all accountable for the right things. So thank you.
And again, there are more detailed breakdowns of this that are attached and you can dig into further. But big picture, we're really excited that in reading, we have exceeded our growth metric. Wow. We're at 121%. That's where our median student is in terms of progress towards annual typical growth. And that's the left-hand side is that growth metric in reading, and the right-hand side is our current placement distribution. So that's where they are in terms of proficiency, in terms of are they on grade level, that's in green. Are they 1 year behind grade level, that's yellow, 2 or more grade levels behind, that's red. And so for mathematics, we're at 108% as our progress, the median progress towards annual typical growth. And again, you can see that same proficiency breakdown. This is for the district, K-8, all students who took iReady, their growth from fall of this year till spring of this year, and then their performance on the spring diagnostic. This is another graph that I'd like to share with you. And I think one of the things that I want to orient you to on this graph is that on the y-axis, that's that growth piece, and on the x-axis, that's performance. So if you look, that middle line 50 on that x-axis is the median performance, or the 50th percentile is that national median, right? So we want our students to do well, obviously. We want them to be high nationally. So if you look, all of our grade levels are to the right. That's exactly where we want them to be, on the right half of that graph, well above the 50th percentile of the national median. We also say, hey, we would like our students to grow. Even though we know they're high performing, we also want them to grow. So we would love for them all to be in the upper right-hand quadrant. You'll notice that is true for our grades K through 5. You'll notice in mathematics here that it is not true for our middle school students, 6th, 7th, and 8th. In reading, we see a similar pattern where our kids are high performing. We see lower growth in grades 6th, 7th, and 8th. And again, we're wonderful K through 5. All of our students are in the upper quadrant. And you'll notice that question mark in 8th grade. And I had the opportunity to gather some street data on the last day of the iReady testing this spring. I happened to be doing the super sub at Hillside Middle School in a classroom of 8th graders as they are finishing up their iReady assessment. The last one they did was reading. And they had a lot of questions for me. Why do we have to do this assessment? And I explained, the state says we have to give these benchmark assessments. That was not really important to them as much as it's important to us. They also shared that they had taken 5 assessments in the past few weeks, and they shared their frustration with that and how much they did not value this assessment in particular. That being said, we still think that there is good information to gather from this. So when we think about next steps, we wonder, what can we do to help our students find this data more valuable, particularly as you can see our 8th grade students. Knowing that we see this pattern in math and in reading, I have a hunch we're going to see a different pattern in our PSAT data when that data is no longer embargoed, and we can compare how they performed PSAT fall to PSAT spring, because when in the conversations with the students, they talked about the value that they placed on that particular assessment over this one. And again, this was the last one. iReady reading was the last one they did over a series of tests, but we can't say that for sure until that data comes out in the fall, and that's a good conversation for us to have. Even with this, the most important and helpful stuff for us is to take this iReady data and zoom all the way in at the domain level. No. And so one of the things I want to point out here is even in 8th grade, we have a clearly identified strength of algebra and algebraic thinking. And to orient you to this graph, we've got kindergarten through 8th grade across the top. Number and operations, algebra and algebraic thinking, measurement and data and geometry are the different domains. These are not just domains they are assessed on iReady. These are similar domains that they are assessed on with the PSAT and the SAT. And you'll notice that when this is the percent of students placing in that green level, right? That mid or above green level, that higher level of green. So not both, there's 2 shades of green. This is that darkest color of green. And when our students are more than the national average, 5%, then we're going to see that dark navy color. When it increased pretty close to the national average, it's that turquoise. And then less than the national average, but still pretty close, it's that gray. And that white section is less than the national average by more than 5%. And so when we look at this particular piece, we notice a pattern. Our kids are really strong at algebra and algebraic thinking, but measurement and data looks lower. And this is a piece that is really useful information because it lines up with similar patterns of data that we saw in the PSAT and the SAT data that we analyzed together in the fall. So again, that was that big satellite data, and we've already gathered our teachers to discuss this, and we noticed that the measurement and data component, that unit is last for a number of years in a row. And we know when there are snow days, what happens to that last unit of the year? It's the one that gets trimmed short. So our teachers are already working this summer on rethinking what is the order that we teach things in, or how can we be more efficient with units and lessons earlier in the year to ensure that measurement data gets its proper time and allotment in our curriculum. And in reading, another just highlight I wanted to point out is at the beginning of the year, as we built our literacy framework K-5, our teachers said they really wanted to focus on building the contextual pool for our students. And that means building their vocabulary and helping them with their comprehension. And we really have strong scores showing up this year in those vocabulary and comprehension overall. I'm really excited about the emphasis our teachers have placed on that as they are trying new different literacy tools, specifically trying tools looking for knowledge building resources and how do we support our students regardless of what experiences they've had outside of school, building a consistent pattern of, doesn't matter what your life experiences are. If you are in first grade at Northville Public Schools, you will build this particular body of knowledge. And in second grade, you'll build this particular body of knowledge. So again, you have that pool of information that you can build on when you're reading in the future. And that's so crucial for future reading all the way up through high school and beyond. So again, our celebrations, we want to, as a district, celebrate that we exceeded 100% median progress towards typical growth, and that all grades K through 8 are high proficiency for math and reading, and that all grades K through 5 are in that first quadrant, which is both high proficiency and high growth for both math and reading. We do have some questions to explore. Why do we have low middle school growth, particularly in 8th grade reading? And I want to clarify, we did not have 0%. All students did not make zero growth in 8th grade, but the median child did in 8th grade reading. Do I really think that's true based on my conversations with kids, that they aren't growing in reading? Unlikely, but we're going to look more into this, like how do we motivate children during this assessment? And let's look closely at other assessment results, including the PSAT, and let's compare those. And then why do we see less growth in measurement and data? That's something we're already looking at and exploring. Another thing I just want to emphasize when it comes to iReady, we know that there are opportunities and our families are have been taking advantage of the iReady personalized learning path. And iReady has this place where if your child, it identified, for example, that they could maybe do a little more work on decimals or fractions or something, again, around comprehension and vocabulary. The learning path is going to give them individualized targeted lessons that help build that particular skill. However, we really want to emphasize that this complements but does not replace Tier 1 classroom instruction. So we identified our Northville Public Schools guidelines based on the allotted time that we have built in the day for either their win time or their middle school seminar, where they could get that done and it would not conflict with Tier 1 instruction. That Tier 1 instruction should be led by the teacher. However, it can be done in stations where the teacher is pulling small groups to give them one-on-one or small group instruction, while they might do iReady in a station, and over here they might be doing something with manipulatives. Teachers should never be assigning iReady minutes as a graded activity or be withholding recess for students who miss their goals. These goals are just goals in the sense that here are some good guidelines for how students might spend their time. And we really want to encourage families not to exceed 45 minutes per subject per week. iReady's research says more does not necessarily mean better for our kids, and it doesn't necessarily increase their results over 45 minutes. So this summer, iReady is available with this caveat. Please limit your children to no more than 45 minutes per week per subject, and please know that this is optional, that we want your children to engage in all the fun things that they would do in the summer, and please do not allow your children to do more than 45 minutes per week. And access will end on August 14th. That's when we roll over to set up for our new school year and our new classes. And we also want to point out there has been some questions and conversations about screen time. We really think limiting unstructured screen time is essential. both in school and at home. And we're working really hard with some new tools for our teachers to help support them in doing that this upcoming year. But at the core, well-designed teacher-directed technology used in limited defined sessions is a powerful tool to meet students' needs, particularly in situations like this where it allows for differentiation. It allows our children to accelerate faster than if they're ready to do so or fill skill gaps. But we believe that teachers are at the heart of the classroom and technology should be intentional, teacher supported, and only used when it meaningfully advances learning. What questions might you have?
I have a question about Dr. Zielinski and her, oh, sorry. I have a question about Dr. Zielinski, our math coach,
Yes.
right? And I was curious to know kind of how she's working with teachers. I'm hoping that she's in that process as well, that, and
So
what her perspective might be about that measurement
We
data.
utilize iReady data in our MTSS meetings, which our coaches, both, Dr. Zielinski, who is our math coach, but we have two math coaches. We also have two literacy coaches, and they are in those meetings having conversations. So we have learning consultants who will speak to a specific child and the ways that they might support that child. But in that space, the coach might also say to a group of grade level teachers, oh, we noticed that there's a pattern here. There are a group of students in your class that are working on this particular skill. Here are some ideas about how we might best support those kids. But it's not just the coach that's doing that coaching. It's the team saying, hey, when I look at this particular concept, how are you all doing that? What are you all doing to teach that? And so we have coaches available to support that. And again, Dr. Zielinski has done a really nice job of going classroom to classroom and providing resources, many of them in a game format that can help make learning these different skills fun. So thank you for highlighting that. Yes.
I'm curious to know, is measurement in data things like fractions, decimals, things like that? It's more like statistic. Okay. Thank you.
Can you go back one screen?
Yeah.
So I'm really glad you ended your presentation on this. And then I want to go back to one thing that we approved in our consent agenda tonight was the light speed filter and classroom management purchase, and how that is going to allow a classroom teacher to, now that all students are going to have a district Chromebook in the classroom. And so that's going to allow a classroom teacher to see what's happening on all of those district Chromebooks in their classroom and have the ability to turn things off and turn things on when it is important for classroom learning. So I just wanted to highlight that really quick because I think it's one way, it's a pretty huge way, I think, that we as a board are hoping to support classroom teachers.
We really appreciate that approval. We actually just had the meeting today about helping, if this gets approved tonight, helping plan the professional development for teachers that goes along with that. So the important piece to Lightspeed is that you can go in as a teacher and it already knows who are the children in your classroom right now. And because the children are on district devices, if they were on their personal devices, it's a lot harder to do this. It's a lot harder to monitor. But because they're on a district device, it knows, can identify the devices in the room and say, all right, everybody who has this hour, you only get to open 3 tabs. So, or just 1 tab. Or you may only open iReady. That is the only thing you're allowed to do in this 15-minute of time. And it doesn't mean that they will use devices the entire class period, but it does mean if they're on devices, the teacher can clearly direct what they are allowed to use devices on. Now, let's say they're doing a larger research project and they want to provide more options. They can still monitor on a screen what different people are doing. And if the child maybe hops over to something that looks less educational, the teacher can actually freeze their screen. They can even send a little message that's not so public saying, hey, not what you're supposed to be doing right now. Turn the thing off. So it provides tools to help support our teachers in better monitoring how kids use devices when we do use them to ensure that they're intentionally used for educational reasons to advance learning.
The quick math I did on that too was $6 a student.
Mhm.
Like that's minimal, right? For
Yeah.
that kind of support.
And again, we had teachers try it out this spring, and their feedback was that it was pretty easy to use. And that's also important. We don't want teachers to spend a lot of time messing around with Lightspeed, right? At the beginning, we want it to be easy for them, quick, ready to go, so they can focus on what we need them to be doing, which is working with our kids directly. Any other questions?
I'm excited to see how our focus on this middle school math and the measurement and data starts to impact our scores in that area and math scores.
It's a difficult thing because I was thinking about it, when you mentioned about the 8th grade and, but all the grades are also taking the M-STEP in addition to taking.
Not necessarily.
What grades don't
Eighth
take?
grade gets hit by the largest number because we don't do all subjects in the M-STEP every year. So it's eighth grade.
But they don't take the reading and writing portion though.
The reading and writing is built into the PSAT.
Okay, so
So,
so that's
so
like
they've
the
got-
trade-off. So they've got the
They've got
reading and the
eighth
writing.
grade science and
Yes,
right? Like they've just
yeah.
And so we're and we have to give the PSAT in the spring.
Right, that is a legal
And
requirement.
we have to give a benchmark assessment
Yes.
in the fall and in the spring.
Yes.
In all grades K through 8. Right? There are some things that we don't have choices about. We do have choice about how we approach this with kids and how we work with them, maybe how we schedule that testing. We can try different options. I will say this is not a Northville specific challenge. Helping children see value in their benchmark assessment in middle school. They tend to, again, my own children, they start to be like, what's in it for me by the time they get to middle school? And that's fair, but we do really need to help them see that, hey, this is gonna help me help you. And that's one of the things we're gonna work on and use it as an opportunity to celebrate growth. We're gonna try. That's one of our next steps.
Yeah, we also
What'd you say?
Junior year also
is
Yeah.
they get hit hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
eighth grade and junior year are big years. Yeah, yeah. For those of you who have children who have recently completed the fun of testing their junior year, we have
Yes.
similar conversations with our juniors about, nope, the M-STEP is just as important as the SAT for us, because for them, that SAT reigns supreme, but the M-STEP, they get a little less excited about.
And along the lines of what you said, it's not just a state requirement, but that window in which you give it is also a state
Yep,
requirement.
we have
So they
this
very-
window. Yep. They have some rules that the benchmark assessment has to happen towards the end of the year, but we also, because our elementary students take it 3 times a year, we have to make sure those windows are a certain number of weeks apart so that the growth data is valid.
All right, well, thank you very much for all the information. I am also looking forward to seeing what we get when we get the state data in the fall. So appreciate the update.
More data conversations to come.
Yes, yes. All right, that brings us to public comment. Public cards. All right. Onward to new teacher hire.
Okay, it's
Excited.
my pleasure to bring forth motion 127, that the board award a 1-year NEA teacher contract to Adam Calipara for the 2026-27 school year as presented.
Support.
Okay. So, I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Sumner.
All right, thank you, President Meyer. I don't know, does he need any introduction? I don't think
No,
so.
no, but but we want one. We
I
want
came here
one.
2.5 years ago. This guy is a legend.
Yes.
No, truly speaking, we're really excited to bring Adam Calipara's hire to the board this evening. Like I mentioned, familiar name and face to many, having assisted with the Northville High School marching band and drum line. Tried to recruit, or no, he got Dr. Weber out there at one point. And that work for Adam dates all the way back to 2017, only a few years following his graduation from Northville High School. Adam took a bit of a different path despite his pursuit of a music minor at the University of Michigan Dearborn, in that he completed his Bachelor of Science in Biological Sciences. Shortly thereafter, he completed his Master of Public Health from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. and worked for Michigan Medicine as a research area specialist. Despite his pursuits in public health, his passion for music and sharing it with others kept calling him, as evidenced by both his personal pursuits with music as well as the work he continued to do with the music program here in Northville Public Schools. Adam pivoted and determined to pursue his teaching certification through the Michigan Teachers of Tomorrow program. Adam's work with the music program here in Northville Public Schools has earned him a fan club that includes students, parents, the teachers within the NPS music program, including Mrs. Nugent, who's here this evening and actually had Adam as a student, and administrators alike. They all report the same thing. Adam is not only ready for this opportunity, but he has earned it and deserves it. And so I'm really pleased this evening to bring forward a recommendation to the Board of Education on behalf of the Central Office Administrative Team. I recommend that the Board of Education approve a probationary contract for the 26-27 school year for Adam Calipara. And obviously, you have your supporting documentation there in your board packets if there's anything you'd like to review, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, this is very exciting. I know we're all looking forward to this. Just a wonderful kind of full circle moment. So let's get on with the voting. So I have a motion properly presented by Trustee Frazier, supported by Secretary Campbell Voitel. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, welcome, Mr. Calipara.
Okay, can I say something? Are we going to make a comment about hiring him?
Oh, sure, you can go ahead and come.
Okay, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So it looks like Dr. Weber is going over to shake his hand. Okay, wonderful. Well, I would like to also just say there's lots of wonderful aspects about Adam, but I want to say that Adam has always risen to my consciousness because he's everywhere in the community. And so at our church, when we were housing for a week people who lacked stable housing, he brought the drum line to dinner to engage with the guests that we had in our church for a week out of, and he mobilizes, remember, the drum line moves a lot of equipment. This is not like the flute section. They have big instruments, and they have a performance that they give that is really quite impressive, and there's lots of, there's lots of twirling and lots of up and down, and what can I say? I'm the parent of a drummer, so I love drum, but you have such a great heart, and you are at so many community events representing the music program personally, but also bringing your students and your mentees with you to share with them, with the community, I guess, what wonderful things you have going on. So this is just wonderful. I think one time, I'll just tell a story. I think we were at an award ceremony, and he even bumped the superintendent out of his saved seat at the table.
He did. Didn't hold it personally against him.
We actually.
Actually, wait. Truth be told, you probably said sit here. We don't want him to.
Yes, we did, actually.
It's fine.
He says, Adam, stick with us.
Used to it.
But anyway, it's just terrific to once again hire people that come up through our school system and have demonstrated such a heart and such an awareness of what it means. And bravo that you're going to be at Meads. That's just terrific. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you for highlighting that. We're very excited to have you. I think that okay. I just wanted to double check because the slide was okay. So we are going to pivot to the Office of Instruction 2026-27 AI tool selection. So.
All right. So are we arranging? Oh, we're shaking hands.
Yeah, we're gonna actually have Miss Jen Lawson, and we have one of our student AI task force members, Malik, here
wonderful.
to join us as well.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, we need to read the motion real quick, and then
Let me set the table here. Okay, so I'm bringing motion 128 that the board approve the licenses for the AI task force recommended AI tools totaling $106,155 for the 26-27 school year.
So again, this is a truncated version of the presentation we gave last week, but this week we have our very own Jen Lawson with us and Malik, one of our task force members from our student group as well. So I think it might be a little bit better this week because of that. Jen, do you want to kick us off by telling our timeline?
Sure. I approached Emily, I think her second day here, and I said, here's what I want to do. And with her guidance and her help, we managed to, within a year, complete all of our goals with the task force. And one of my goals was to get student input. And originally what I had done was we'd have our task force meetings and I would go meet with the students at the high school. And I realized very quickly that our task force wasn't complete and that we were missing the most important voice in the room, the students. And while I had the opportunity to listen to what they had to say, and I could summarize Malik's and Sean and Charlotte, and we just had such a tremendous group of students that I felt our task force wasn't complete without them. So starting the third meeting, they joined us, and it was like they had been there from the beginning. And to see these amazing students in a room full of the superintendent, assistant superintendent, principals, administrators, teachers, they did not hold back. And it was exactly everything I had hoped it would be and then some. And so when we came forward with ideas and thoughts, they said, you know what, that doesn't quite work for us. And really shaped what this task force became and what we did, and invaluable. And I'm also proud to say he was one of my sixth grade students too. So it was very nice to see him around. So we were very fortunate to get through everything that we wanted to do with our timeline on time. And I'm very pleased with everything the task force did this year. It was nothing short of remarkable.
And one of the first steps was taking the big AI list of tools that we had been piloting over the past 2 years and saying it's time to narrow it down. And I think I shared with the group how fun I thought it was when periodically you all would be fighting hard for a particular tool that you knew one of your teachers loved so much. But we asked for feedback. We broke them into 4 categories: instructional AI assistants, student engagement platforms, student voice and reflection. And again, you'll note there was just one in that category, and interactive video learning.
So this kind of came under our radar about February. And knowing that the Department of Justice came through with some ADA requirements that I actually think are wonderful. So I'm very excited that this is going to be part of our mission next year, is really to get this information out. I created a course in Schoology for all the teachers to learn about the new DOJ ADA requirements. But it kind of threw us for a loop too, because we found out some of our tools that we had agreed upon didn't necessarily fit what we needed them to do. So that's where we kind of went back and said, okay, all of the staff, the students, we've all voted. These are our tools that we wanted. And they have promised us that it should be ready to go by the fall, but we can't just sit by and say, okay, sure, because we know things happen. So that's where we'd asked for the 2 tools for the recordings, but our web content accessibility, and it boils down to we need to be able to edit captions and transcripts that are going to be available to students. and we had all picked Edpuzzle, and yes, Edpuzzle, thank you. And they didn't have editable captions yet. They've promised us they will, but we can't just sit back on promises and hope that that's true. So we're asking for 1 year more of Edpuzzle and Screencastify, because right now Screencastify does do that.
So just to clarify, most of these ADA requirements are things like the way our fonts, the color contrast, things that we're working on with teachers that are going to have to do with how they build things that they put into their courses, particularly their Schoology courses, and how they hyperlink things. And it's going to be work for our teachers. So in most cases, most of the tools were just fine. But for teachers who use videos in their classroom, there were some extra rules. And so the video tools we currently have in our district are Edpuzzle, Screencastify, and Camtasia. And Camtasia wasn't even on the table for a conversation, because if you remember originally, this was about tools that had an AI component. So Edpuzzle and Screencastify have these AI components in them, and both of them are interactive video learning tools, where the teachers in particular really felt like Edpuzzle had the better interactive learning components. Screencastify allows you to do more video editing. Specifically, it allows for those, it's already able to do the ADA captions. It also does some student interaction, but the ADA caption piece, it's already there and ready in Screencastify. We have a third tool though, called Camtasia. It is a video editor. It's probably the strongest video editing tool of the three, but we have a small number of people who are using it for the types of work that needs to be done. So we have a new proposal. Instead of choosing between Edpuzzle and Screencastify, we would like to consider dropping Camtasia instead. So this particular solution would not be in for another year though, because we had a multi-year contract with Camtasia. So our proposal is that we keep Camtasia 1 more year. We have to. We have a 3-year contract that ends next year. But then as soon as that ends, we would stop Camtasia. It'll also give us some time to prep that smaller group of folks that do use Camtasia to say, hey, this is going away, get ready. And that would save the district over $8,000. We propose that for next year, we continue our Screencastify license and beyond, because we know it does those ADA compliant captions, and it has that video editing component as well, where Edpuzzle doesn't do as much with the video editing piece. If we say for next year, let's continue using Edpuzzle, and if it completes those ADA requirements, which they have committed to us that they are in the process of doing, and we are not, the entire country needs this, so I know that they will need to do this to keep the rest of their clients, not just us. But if they do that as asked, we then recommend that we keep Edpuzzle in 27, 28, and beyond. So our goal long-term would be to keep Screencastify and Edpuzzle and drop off Camtasia. So when we go back to our original plan, where we said we're going to pick one in each category, you'll notice both Screencastify and Edpuzzle are circled. We'd like to keep both for next year. But with the idea we would be long-term taking Camtasia off as well. When you look at what that means for our AI tool costs over time, you'll notice that in this current year, we spent over $178,000 in the tools on this screen. And for next year, this would reduce our costs by cutting out some of these tools by over $72,000. This wasn't the only work that we did. It feels like the work that had everybody really excited. Which tools do we get to use? But there was more important work happening. It's not just what tools do we have, but how do we use those tools? And I'm going to let Malik and Jen speak to some of that work as well.
So we've worked really hard in putting together a document that's usable and that parents, students, teachers can really understand what we're trying to do as a district. And part of that is AI literacy. It's teaching kids how to use AI appropriately. The group came up with this really great stoplight idea.
and the students didn't like us. And what the students did is said that's great, but it doesn't help us learn how to use it. And so, Malik, I don't know, would you like to talk a little bit about the AI integration strategies and kind of what you all suggested?
Yeah, of course. So the initial plan was a stoplight model for the integration scale. And the main issue that we as students had with that was that it didn't represent the different ways that AI could impact your learning, and it didn't help you learn how to use the tool, which is a very valuable skill in the workplace. The first issue being that if you don't specify that the AI can replace different sections of learning, then it could be perceived that could be more harmful depending on what you use it for. So a red, yellow, green type of scale could confuse students when they may use AI for more than what's allowed.
Can you tell why we had these students on this group? And so they came up with, 100% human. It's a no AI task. I can't see that far, so we came up with the editor so that students know that they can edit. They came up with the collaborator so they know that they can use it to bounce ideas off. The brainstormer, and also and totally
The tutor.
and the tutor. So that tells them how they can use AI. And if you notice, they also came up with little symbols. And so we created kind of like a toolkit for the teachers, which has this scale. It has all the symbols so that the teachers can put those symbols on different assignments if they would choose to. And it's the same K through 12. So that the language that's being used in first grade is the same language that's being used in 12th grade. And that let's talk about, what does it mean to brainstorm? What does it mean to use it as a tutor? And so with the help of the students, we came up with this integration scale. And one of our jobs next year is going to be how to implement this into the classroom with fidelity.
What questions might you have?
I'm curious if the scale will be shared with families. Okay, good. This will be a public document.
Cool.
And so this will be available to anybody who wants it. There are even suggestions in there for how parents can talk to kids about AI and how it's being used. So all of this will be public knowledge for everyone to see and use.
And I don't know if you were here, you were not here last week where we had a discussion about possibly a feature at our parent camp in the fall. Maybe one very special Jen Lawson speaking to parents about our AI guidance framework, because it's one thing to post something. It's another to help educate families on how to use it, because it is a longer document.
And, maybe our students could come too.
Yes, I think that.
I think it's always helpful to have our students who are, you're the ones that are going to have to manage how to work through this framework, right? So, it's so important, and I'm really glad you guys had the student input. How did you volunteer for this job, for this task force?
So my role in the task force started mostly with the principal's cabinet, which was a volunteer-based opportunity. Anyone in the high school who wanted to participate in that could fill out the Google form and show up during seminar. It was not that much of a commitment. So that I did, and then when Ms. Lawson brought to us the principal's cabinet, the framework they had initially proposed, they had initially devised, we shared our thoughts, and from that, she invited the three of us, me, Sean, and Charlotte, to the AI task force to continue and help develop this framework. So that's how I got into this.
Awesome.
So, Malik, do you see that there's kind of a continuum of exposure to these different aspects, AI roles, according to grade level? Or how do you see these feeding into, so to your point about how do students learn how do they not trip into doing the things they can't do? And are more skillful with the things that they should be doing if they're going to be using the tutor function, so to speak. How, do you have any thoughts about how, is there a sequence to learning these things, or?
I think it's actually a mixture of both a sequence and the type of task that a student is asked to complete on an assignment. So I think you are right. Yes, it does kind of gradually go up as you would go through a grade scale. Like a tutor, or I'm sorry, the editor might help with grammar that you would learn earlier on, whereas a tutor might teach you concepts that would be more advanced, right? But I also think that different levels of this would be different types of thinking in specific assignments. So what I mean is, like, they would have different levels of significance depending on whether you're doing it for English or whether you're doing it for math or something like science.
Okay. And doesn't, correct my thinking, but there's some developing skill in querying AI with the proper questions to produce what you're looking for, and that's also a learned skill too, I would imagine.
So inside the AI framework, you'll see there is a page that specifically names at which grade band different types of skills. Like, for example, at our elementary schools, we have to teach kids that AI is not actually a person, right? So they don't think that there's someone behind that screen and that they're chatting with a real person. And so the draft document we actually brought to our STEAM teachers when they were doing their curricular development this year, saying, knowing that this is a class that every kid's going to have, K through 5, how do we make sure that we are very intentionally placing that in the different grade levels? They don't have to do all of it in 1 year, but over that K-5 band, when do we do that? Then in middle school, there's a new conversation that we're having with some additional pieces. And then by high school, we're going to talk about how do we do this really well and how do we use it beyond our district.
In those tools that we're using, whether it's Snorkel or Brisk, there are safeguards built in and there are grade level appropriateness too. Would I give a chat bot to a kindergartner? No. Would we use something like Snorkel to assess learning? Absolutely. So will they be using AI? Yes. Will they all be using it the same? No.
I really appreciate all this work. AI kind of always feels like you're chasing something and you're never quite able to reach it. And I appreciate you going towards this and you leading the charge on this from the moment that. So I think it's really important, and I like your question about when involving families. I think that we're all trying to figure out the best way to engage with AI, and then have our children engage with AI. So knowing that you've thought about it both horizontally and vertically is really important. And I know we're going to just continue to be chasing, but I feel like we've got really good footing right now, and that's because of all your hard work. So thank you very much. Thank you for taking your time, Malik, and the other students for joining, because I think your voice is imperative in this.
I was thinking too about our STEAM class, right? It wasn't that long ago that we were contemplating what do we do with world language versus STEAM at the elementary level. And I'm thinking about, I'm so glad we made that shift, even though it was really hard, because I think then when you have the STEAM teachers at the elementary level who are, not that they're gatekeepers, but it seems like they are a pivotal,
responsible for some crucial learning.
Yes, that's really important, right? That, I mean, I was someone that struggled with that vote. But I think now we're seeing why. I mean, this is its own, skill, language, whatever.
I
So
see
thank you for leading that.
I see some potential for community collaboration also, like sending some students over to the community center to do some trainings with, I know the seniors in my life could use some, I think I need training.
I need
on AI,
training.
So maybe I'll
But
be
am I
there
a senior
too.
now that I
but,
just turned 40?
You know.
Okay. Okay.
Not quite, Meredith.
I did want to mention, firstly, everybody's stealing my ideas tonight. Karen, you already hit on the vertical and horizontal alignment. We've talked about that so much over the last several months. And, Emily, I appreciate that, when you came here, it was like, all right, let's do this. We spent 2 years piloting some of the things that Dr. Boffman had brought in. And, while there was space and time and necessity for all of those things to really flesh them out, it was time to say, okay, what is it that we need here? And, that's a beautiful interaction scale that we know that from K through 12, they're going to get that horizontal piece. and then the vertical piece of everybody kind of knowing what's going on. So I appreciate all of the work you guys have done in that.
We've had a great team. Thanks so
Yeah,
much.
sounds like it.
And Malik, before we go, your voice is amazing. I would like you to read, and I pulled it up in the purpose statement, and this is something I want to be read and put into the atmosphere, because what you did is encapsulated why we're doing AI. There are a lot of adults who can miscategorize it or not understand in an educational setting why it's important. And the way you nailed the nuance of when to use, how to use, and how a three-step system wouldn't work. But buried within everything you said, the reality is this is not going anywhere. And it's your generation, frankly, that I hope can enact what I'm going to ask you to please read out loud, because I want the adults who are listening to this to key in on the very thoughtful choices that the AI task force made in building this purpose statement.
Jeez, put him right on the spot, man.
He's got it.
The Artificial Intelligence Framework for Northville Public Schools serves as a comprehensive roadmap for integrating AI into the educational environment while prioritizing human-centered innovation. Its primary purpose is to provide students, staff, educators, and families with actionable ethical guidelines that balance technological advancement with academic integrity. By establishing clear roles and responsibilities, the document ensures that AI acts as a collaborative tool to amplify human intelligence rather than replace it.
Well done.
Smashed it. Great.
Thank you. Yep.
Any other questions for us about AI?
No?
All right,
No,
no
thank
other
you.
questions. We did have a motion, if we can all remember back.
That was probably presented by Secretary Campbell Voitel, and it was supported by Trustee Maurer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. Thank you so much again for all your hard work on it.
And just like Karen thanked all the athletes for being here during the summer, thank you for being here during the summer. Absolutely appreciate it.
We're sitting through all those meetings of adults talking.
I know.
Now go and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Molly. You know, as we've gotten quite used to with you, Dr. Pulaski, I know that there's a slide that says what's next, and that is always moving forward. And so were you going to say?
I think I hit that what's next, but this time, let me, because I shared that last.
Oh,
I did hide it in my efforts to try to shrink my presentation
Well-
down. But the next steps are, the important piece is PD. We have to ensure that teachers have the support they need to implement this. And then communication, we've already, again, we have these tools that are ready to be used, but they need support in doing that. And then Ms. Lawson has an idea for the AI Task Force 2.0 instructional rounds, because it's different you can talk about it, but seeing AI used in action in classrooms, that's the most powerful way to help our teachers learn and grow together.
Right. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. We're doing a lot of big things tonight. And
Sure
this
are.
is not an exception. Exactly. So next we have our resolution of our Throon Policy Manual repeal and replace. So turning it over to you, Trustee Frazier.
I would like to bring forth motion 129 that the board adopt the Troon Policy Manual resolution as presented.
Support.
Okay, I am not going to bring it forward because I'm going to turn over to Ms. Peck to maybe give us the
I
history.
don't know. I really want Ron to read every single one.
There's only 272 attachments to this
You do not have to
resolution.
read. Yeah, wet your whistle.
And what we, saving Ron from that, what we'll let
I have-
people know is we have, over 700 pages, I think, Ms. Irving? If you're interested in the board packet, this particular meeting, I would highly recommend considering taking out a loan if you're actually going to print it out on paper.
Yeah.
701 pages. And that's double-sided?
No.
Oh. Still a lot.
So yeah, Ms. Peck, if you could give us a little bit of history about what we've been doing for the past few months, I'd really appreciate it.
So this has been a journey of love and learning, lots of learning that I think that we have all done. The board came together about a year ago and we started having some conversations about our policy book. If you recall, we were the last standing district in the state of Michigan that had the I'm not even sure what they're called. It's a policy book that we all did in Michigan. They were called a la carte policies, and they were policies that just your district needed. And it was great. It worked very well for the time. There were a lot fewer laws, school code laws, that impacted the operations of schools. So it kind of made sense to do it that way. You know, just have the policies that are specific for your school community. Well, then, as soon as that policy book was created, it became to be outdated. Legislatures were adding different school code rules that required us to have different policies. So we started having a lot of updates to policies. There wasn't a continuum of service. And the company, the legal firm that came up with that great idea, and it was a really good idea, I don't want to disparage them at all, they were absorbed by another law firm, and they said, yeah, we're not going to do that because it's not doing a good service to school boards. So we had a choice to make. We could keep doing it and keep working directly with our lawyers on policies as we thought they might need to be updated, or we could consider going with a new policy book. The board took a look at the three different vendors in the market. One of them actually fell off while we were looking at them and no longer became available. It was between two, and the board chose Troon Policy. Troon is our board legal counsel, so it made sense. We have some great connections with the lawyers at Troon, Rob Dietzel being our primary contact. And he has been incredibly helpful with all of the questions that we had, because going from the policy book that we had, which we knew, and we understood it, and we were getting nervous about some of these new policies. Well, why does it say this? We didn't know we had to do that. It was very helpful, along with the entire Troon organization, and supporting us as this Board of Education. All 7 members joined 1 or 2 subcommittees and went through 268 policies.
Wow.
With this team, and I can't thank you enough for all of that work. The 701 pages that Megan just referenced as the board packet today, I'm guessing about 500 of them are these policies. These are the policies that you have read, this Board of Education. I'm looking at all of you in the eyes because I've been in those meetings with you, and I've been on those phone calls, and we've had lots of conversations. I know that you have read every single one of these policies. Not only did the subcommittees review them in detail, and ask a lot of great questions that needed answers before we could move forward and bring it to the committee of the whole. I know that all 7 of you board members then read all of these policies as we brought them through. It was a lot of work. A lot of boards can't get it done in the manner and fashion that you have. You decided as a board that this was going to be an objective for this year, and you all agreed to have the bandwidth to do it, and you did it, and I certainly respect and appreciate that. And here we are today. This is the board, the new board policy book that will be live very shortly, hopefully after you approve this tonight, and we will go to deep work on our administrative procedures. Right now, at this board meeting right now, between things, I was looking at our student handbook, which is now being updated to support these policies that you're putting in place. So I think that was the overview.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to thank you again, Dr. Weber, the entire leadership team, for all the work that you've put into this. I remember back when we decided to do this, and when we quickly, broke into subcommittee groups, not really knowing, but not knowing, what it was going to entail. So it was really hard work, but I really enjoyed it. I think it was a labor of love. I think we got a lot out of it. And I really appreciate the fact that we all leaned in and got it done. Honestly, I think in a pretty quick manner, considering the amount. I think we started our subcommittee meetings in December, maybe early January.
Yep.
And a lot of work done in a short period of time. So then that was would not have been possible except for everyone's work and obviously legal counsel as well. So
Well, and I'm
really
grateful to the
appreciate that.
board, President Meyer, for, word for word, your team went through this, all 7 of you, so many meetings and hours, and especially, and Rebecca, you can tell she was an English teacher because she gave a ton of homework. Some of your groups got more than others, and her expectation is you better come correct to that meeting. One of you got, I won't say who got in trouble because you didn't do your homework at one point, and Rebecca had to make an example. No, you didn't.
That was you.
That was probably me. Well played, Pack, well played. But, the only way that this really could happen, and this was one of those beautiful team efforts where you have 7 board members who do this for no compensation, who are elected officials, and said, yep, I can be there 4 to 6. Yep, I can be there 6 to 8. Yep, I can be there 5 to 7, including reading everything. And the organization was there and so on. And I'm so proud. This is, to me, what a truly high functioning school board and central office leadership team are capable of. I would argue that this past year and a half has been filled with examples. You'd be hard pressed to find a more tangible example of an entire team effort, however, than this one. There were Office of Academics, Special Education, Finance. Every single component of our district were in these meetings at some point. You all had your own areas of specialization. Some had 2 areas of specialization because we needed that work. So this is not hubris. This is not like patting ourselves on the back or anything like that. You and we have a right to be proud of the fact that you have now set school boards up in the future of this great school district and administrators up and for the future of this great school district to be highly successful because we have a cogent policy package that we can rely on to protect our district, to protect our institution, our kids, our staff. So I don't want to go off too much, but genuinely thank you all. I mean, you were all part of it. And this is something that you should be proud of. This is really, really, really difficult work for many types of mindsets, but you guys all made it look easy. Genuinely, thank you.
Thank you. I do also, I know she doesn't like it, but I wanted to say thank you to Megan also, because not only was she in every single one of the meetings, but I happen to like paper copies where other people can do a digital. And so she was printing copies of every single one of the policies for anyone that needed them. And she was integral in every single one of those meetings. So thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you. All right, well, I have a motion probably presented by Trustee Frazier, supported by Vice President Stewart, and I believe this calls for a roll call vote.
All right. McIntyre?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Regenmauer?
Yes.
Mabry?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Campbell Boytel, yes.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
I wish we had like confetti or balloons that would have just rained down from the
I even
ceiling.
looked at my confetti little popper thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
yes.
New Year's Eve. Would have been fun.
Lots of cleanup.
If only.
Yeah, Danny's already busy.
If only we could pop a bottle of champagne, but we know now that we cannot because there's a policy
There
about
is a
that.
policy against that.
So-
Yes.
Oh, we have a policy for no drinking at the board table?
Yeah.
On school grounds, you can't, yeah.
Yeah.
All of the above.
I thought it was board table specific.
All right, if you flip many pages, you will find us at the 2026-28 Northville Association of School Administrators NASA tentative agreement.
I'd like to bring forth motion 130, that the board ratify the tentative agreement entered into by and between the district and the Northville Association of School Administrators commencing July 1st, 2026 and expiring June 30th, 2028.
Okay, before we vote on this, and I'm wondering how you want to walk through this, because we've got quite a few that we're going to, agreements that we're hopefully going to ratify. So do you want to speak about them all at once, or do you want us to stop at, like, what's the best way to?
It would probably be helpful if we just did one at a time. So
Okay.
I can speak to the NASA.
Sure, sure.
Brian and I are kind of pinging back and forth between
Okay.
between all the things that y'all are doing right now.
Sounds
So-
good. So go ahead.
So,
Please.
okay, so I want to talk today about the motion on the floor, which is the tentative agreement with the Northville Association of School Administrators. Before I do that, I want to tell you, if you were wondering what principals do after their school year is over and their clock-in time is over, they go off to conferences about their job and how they can do it better next year. So many of our administrators are up north right now in a conference. There's a couple of them actually going on. So they are sad that they could not be here, but they are definitely here in spirit and certainly with the tentative agreement that you have before you. As you know, the Northville Association of School Administrators are our principals. These are the folks that hold the buildings together and they keep the party going, sometimes late into the night, and early in the morning if you're a high school person. They are just ending a 24 to 26 contract. So we started bargaining with them. We had started having some soft conversations, a few months ago, and then we got real serious about it as the date was looming forward. We have a very collaborative relation with the Northville Association of School Administrators. They are part of our team, and when I say our team, I mean our team, all of us here. They understand the assignment, and they definitely work hard for everything that they do. We had great sessions, not many, but they were dense. We quickly came to a tentative agreement with a 2-year contract. Most of the focus was on salary schedules. That should be no surprise to you. We are looking at, I use one of Brian's terms, salary compression, as you start changing salary scales. And we know that the NEA negotiated along with us a contract that changed their salary scales. And what happened in that process is it started to compress other salary scales in the district, and NASA is one of them. So we spoke at length about what that was going to look like. We ended up agreeing to parity on salary wage increases for this year with the NEA, and that is a 3% salary scale lift and a step for each member in NASA. Their scale was, when we looked at comps, we needed to push that scale down. We needed to offer a higher wage coming in because it was too close to where the teachers were coming out. In some cases, in some districts, it was even in our district, in some of those classifications, it was lower than our highest paid teachers. So we took a step off and we added a step. So while the administrators stayed on the same step, it had the financial feel of moving a step. So it was equivalent to about a 6% scale increase, pay increase. In addition to that, that's for year 1. Year 2, we have agreed to a step on the existing scale. We also agreed that depending on what happens with the future negotiations with our largest bargaining group next year, we would consider having more conversations with them and opening up that contract and talking a little bit more with them. 26-27 also, along with 27-28, continues the one-time off-schedule salary schedule bonus, which is tied to the fund balance trigger. We also included in this contract a little extra juice with that. If the fund balance is between 23 and 28%, the NEA members will experience a $700 increase over that $1,800 fund balance. If it's 29% or higher, they'll get $1,200 in addition. That was what was negotiated. In 27-28, the thing I just didn't mention, I did mention the step progression, but they will also in 27-28 realize they'll become eligible for a tax shelter annuity after next year, not this year, but going into next year. That is my overview of the TA.
Does anyone have any questions?
No?
They deserve it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you for working so hard to come to that.
Yes. All right, so I have a motion probably presented by Trustee Frazier, supported by Treasurer McIntyre. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that brings us to our 2026-2027 employee manuals, terms and conditions.
Okay, I'd like to bring forth motion 131, that the board authorize the administration to revise and update the respective employee manuals through the 2026-27 school year. A, technology operations and food service employees, and B, office support personnel, as presented.
Support. Okay, so I have a motion. Oh, I'm going to stop and I'm going to turn it over to you.
It's pinged over to me now.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's my pleasure to provide recommendations for updates to the technology operations and food service employee manual, as well as the office support personnel manual. Starting with the TOFS manual, or technology operations and food service manual. As we do actually with both of these groups annually, we review the market, take a look at our comparables in other districts to see where we match up or where we don't match up. And so we've done that with both of these employee groups. And in terms of the technology operations and food service recommended updates, we're recommending that the board authorize administration to update the TOFS employee manual as follows. A one-year term from July 1st, 2026 through June 30th of 2027. And it would include all TOFS employees who are eligible for a step progression will advance one step for the 26-27 school year. And then in addition to that, all TOFS hourly wage scales will be increased by 3%. In addition, we're recommending to continue the formula-based bonus potential, the fund balance payment, as we often refer to it. In addition, also included in the TOFS manual, as recommended this evening, is the board, as the board had been previously notified, is the addition of what we're calling a buildings and grounds team or crew. This would include a buildings and grounds lead position, as well as two buildings and grounds positions. So a total of 3 FTEs that would support buildings and grounds work in the district. This restructuring is possible through the absorption of one of the maintenance positions and the addition of 2 FTEs to the department. And as previously shared with the board, these 2 additional positions will be offset in part by the cost of these positions will be offset in part by the elimination of costs and services for district grounds that have previously been subcontracted. And that's the recommendation as it pertains to the TOFS manual. Did you want me to proceed with OSP as well, since this is one resolution?
Yes, please.
Okay. And then in terms of OSP, again, we reviewed benchmarking data. Very similar recommendation to TOFS with some restructuring that I'll go into detail about. And so we're recommending this evening that the board approve a one-year term from July 1st, 2026 through June 30th of 2027. It would include all OSP employees experiencing a step progression or advancing one step for the 26-27 school year, if indeed they're eligible. In addition, all OSP hourly wage scales will be increased by 3%. And then we're also recommending some restructuring of classifications and wage scales to better align with the market based upon our research. And that includes for some of our 256 workday OSP classifications, reclassifying them within existing classifications. So in other words, they're moving up in some instances to different classifications to align with the market. And then for Group H, we're recommending some restructuring of that wage scale, knocking off the first or the bottom 2 steps and adding 2 steps to the top, again, for better alignment with the market. And then for our 210 workday and 205 workday OSP classification wage scales, and these are our individuals that work in our school buildings and interact with our community community and our students on a day-to-day basis. Currently, there's 3 lanes in their wage scales: 1 to 5 years of service, a 6 to 10 years of service, and then a 10+ years of service. To better align with the market, we're recommending elimination of the 1 to 5 years of service, and so there would only be 2 lanes, which the 6 to 10 would now become the 1 to 5, and then the 10 plus would now become 6 plus, if that makes sense. And then just like with TOFs, we're recommending continuing the formula-based or fund balance payment. Any questions?
No, thank you. I think it helps us meet the market demands.
Yeah. All right, so I have a motion probably presented by trustee Frazier, supported by trustee Maurer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that brings us to our non-affiliated individual employee and central office leadership team contracts.
I'd like to bring forth motion 132, that the board authorize the administration to approve the non-affiliated individual employee and central office leadership team contracts and wage scale as presented.
Support.
All right.
All right, this one should be shorter. So this is the non-affiliated and COLT contracts, which are all of our central office employees that are not recognized under a collective bargaining agreement. That includes everybody except the superintendent. Sorry, RJ.
It's all right.
These individual contracts are 1 or 2 year contracts. Right now, we're only discussing the salary for 1 year. These contracts only negotiate or we only identify the salary each year of the contract. The salary adjustment is the same as NASA. It is a 3% scale lift, and it is a 1 step. So the central office administrator contracts will feel the equivalent of about a 6% increase. We are also maintaining the original trigger. We're maintaining at the $1,800 amount, which is on par with the NEA. And then we did also go through and revise some of the contract language of the contracts that we'll be signing that gets us back in line with ESTA and formalizes some of the practices that we're doing with bereavement, personal business, contract language, things like that. Also, you will be approving tonight the full wage scale, which is part of the memo. That is part of this motion tonight.
Questions? Okay. Any questions? All right, so I have a motion probably presented by trustee Frazier, supported by Vice President Stewart. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that brings us to our Northville Federation of K-12 Paraprofessionals 2026-27 tentative agreement.
I'd like to bring forth motion 133, that the board ratify the tentative agreement entered into by and between the district and the Northville Federation of Paraprofessionals commencing July 1st, 2026 and expiring June 30th, 2027 as presented.
Support.
Right? All right. So as you might recall, right about this time last year, the board approved a 2-year contract with our K-12 paraprofessionals, or more formally known as our Northville Federation of Paraprofessionals. And at that time, the NEA contract had not settled, and so we had some conversations with the board back in this past November, regarding revisiting some of our employee groups and ensuring that there was some commensurate increases to either their employee agreements or contracts themselves. And the board had approved some reopeners at that time and some revisions to the employee manuals. At that time, though, the K-12 paraprofessionals, their 25-26 agreement was commensurate with other groups, including the NEA. However, we acknowledged during that time that for the 26-27 year, it wasn't quite commensurate. And so the board had acknowledged at that time that they were open to us having some discussions with our K-12 paraprofessional union here this spring, and has since given us permission to do that. And so in engaging with our K-12 paraprofessionals and looking at their original agreement that was ratified last June, that included a half-step increase at the time and a 0% scale increase. Again, not commensurate with terms of other groups for the 26-27 year. And so this evening, we're recommending that the board approve a reopener, in essence, for the 26-27 school year that would include, instead of a half step increase for all paraprofessionals, a full step increase, as well as a 3% scale lift. And again, these terms are commensurate with other employee groups throughout the district, including unionized groups. And that's the recommendation.
Okay, any questions or?
No, I think it's just, again, it's, showing that we we value every group that works in our district and making sure that everyone knows that they're valued by the strength of their contracts. So I think it's important, and I'm glad that we do this, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you for highlighting that. All right, I have a motion properly presented by Trustee Frazier, supported by Secretary Campbell Voitel. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then that brings us to our superintendent contract.
I'd like to bring forth motion 134, that the board approve the 2026 through 29 superintendent contract as presented.
Support.
One more.
Yeah.
And I will say, I hope this isn't embarrassing to RJ, but
I hate it.
I came to
But then
him.
again, the last fall was made very public, so if anyone's looking for my contract, you can find it right here.
It's right there. That's
Yeah.
fine. I came to RJ and I did say it's time for your contract to renew. I would like to recommend that you receive the same amount that all other staff have received. So the recommendation before you is the same. It's a 3% scale lift and one step on that scale. All other conditions stay the same.
Okay. Anyone have any questions or comments regarding Dr. Rower's contract? Okay. All right. Well, then I have a motion properly presented by Trustee Frazier and supported by Trustee Maurer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our contracts. Thank you both for all the work that you've done. I think, that Melissa already expressed this. It's really important to us to have parity. It takes all of us, right? So making sure that all these organizations and groups of people know that they're important, and we want to make sure that they're aligned with all the contracts. I think it's important to us. So appreciate the fact that you were able to get that work done to get that done.
Can I just share too, since Melissa, you brought this up, Brian and I get a chance to talk to these employee groups all the time, and they are so appreciative of this board,
Yes.
and they recognize that. It is not lost on any of them. They understand your not just compassion, but your the fiscal responsibility that you have to the people that are giving everything they can to the students and families and staff in the district. So thank you.
I was approached by a member of the NASA bargaining group on the way out of a building last week, and they wanted me to express what Rebecca just said, that they're very appreciative of the fact that they serve for a board that does everything they can within reason and fiscal responsibility to acknowledge what they do. So thank you.
Thank you. And speaking about fiscal responsibility, that brings us to our final budget amendment.
It's the third time in a week.
Yes, exactly.
Has he figured out how to use the clicker? We wait with bated breath.
That's you.
All right. Let me start first with reading the motion. I'd like to bring forth motion 135 that the board approve the 25-26 final budget amendment as presented.
Support.
Okay.
Ooh, it does have a laser?
It doesn't work on the screen now.
Right. Small details.
Third time's a charm. So you heard this, you can just third time. Budget thing, that's okay.
But he noticed.
I mean, he gave me a hard time for coming in late.
Anyway. I was just making conversation. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So tonight we're gonna go over two budgets. I know you guys have already heard this. Earlier tonight, we had our budget hearing and kind of went over why we do that. And that was for the initial budget, but tonight we're gonna go over the final budget for 25-26 and then do the initial. This will be kind of an expedited presentation. The cow is kind of where we kind of go into more detail, but I'll try to be quick. So for the final budget for 25-26,
foundational allowance stays the same as the A1, enrollment stays the same as the A1. These are some big funding changes for this year. Notably, the loss, again, last year we had 474, 2.9 million. This year we don't have that. That was part of the large state aid increase that we saw last year. And then the one-time deposit, also another mixture is coming out that we saw. So some big funding changes at the state aid level. Salary and wages changes. The only really big change that we saw was the 27L grant. And so that was the educator compensation grant. There was a slight hit to the general fund because like how I kind of explained, you always want to be over because you never want to have to send out pennies when you send it. So you're always hitting the general fund a little bit just to make sure that you expend all of that grant. So there was a slight, I think it was like a couple $1,000s that was hit to the general fund to execute that grant. So all in all, not too bad. The overall theme of this budget from the A1, the A1 had a deficit of 2.4 million. This has a deficit of just under 2.2 million. Last year for ESSER funds, also a part of, again, last time we used this graph or this slide, $12 million in ESSER funds. It really boosted our budget the last 4 years. This is the first year we don't have any ESSER funds, so we're really feeling it in the general fund. This stays constant from the A1 budget, but I love this graph because it kind of shows you the history. Again, 24, 25, no increase. That was the 147.4. Large increase because we were losing that $2.9 million. Okay, so the revenue changes from the first amendment to this amendment. We had miscellaneous income. Those were tied to some offsetting revenues that we're not going to get this year due to technology. We had a state aid adjustment of about $190,000. Again, that's tying it to our June and May state aid stash report. 27L, that was the big one. We received that, but we also expended it, so it's kind of an in and out, except for a couple $1,000s that the general fund had to eat. 20F, that was a whole harmless loss of revenue on the state aid. There was no 25, 26 allocation. At the time of the amendment, we really didn't know if we were going to end up getting it. We ended up not getting it, so we're making that amendment here. And then there were some slight changes in grants. Total change, positive $287,000 in revenue. Now on to the expenditure side. Not a whole lot. Subtle changes in contract and salaries. That's based on new information that we didn't have during the A1. Slight changes to Medicaid, medical and dental. UAL adjustment, again, that's an in and out. So total salary and benefit changes of 67,000. So very, very subtle changes compared to the A1. This is where the big changes in expenditures come in. Contracted medical, that was the 31N grant to general fund. So those were some salary and benefits that were no longer covered by 31N and had to go to general fund. Same thing with IDA, online Imagine Learning, online tuition, and we increased that to reflect those charges. Total contracted services changes of 447,000. Supplies, hardly any changes there. A lot of ins and outs, but overall just $1,000 savings. And then capital outlay, this was, we had some projects slated for our cook school for Act 18. They didn't actually happen this year. We're working on a greenhouse. We're working on a couple other improvements. They're expected to hit next year, so you have to expend them when you actually do the work. And so we're reflecting that in the budget. So again, we should see those expenditures hit next year. Total change of 82,000. So again, not a lot of a lot of big ups and downs, but overall not a lot of changes in the expenditures. So again, overall increase of $280,000 of revenue, increase of 80,000 expenditures. So overall, a more positive picture. And this is the picture, the positive picture shown by object. So this is what we're spending it on. As you can see, as you can see, the revenue at the top.
Where do
see
you-
the expense-
where do you want it?
Yeah. If you can see the revenue at the top, the expenditures by object for a net change, a deficit of $2.1 million, 29% fund balance. Yep. Thank you.
Banna.
Yeah.
Like to buy a vowel. This is the same information and function. So this is the where. And then this is the last couple of years. And again, I kind of talked about this at the budget hearing. There was questions at the Cal about why are we comparing fund balance expenditures to revenue and fund balance to expenditures. And you compare fund balance to expenditures because that's kind of the industry standard, but you're comparing expenditures to revenue here because that's showing you whether or not you're in a deficit or not, which makes sense. But at the time I didn't articulate that correctly. So that is why you're basically showing your expenditures over revenue. If it's over $100 or over 100%, you're in a deficit. If you're under, you're adding to the fund balance. And then these are the other funds. Again, these are important because at the end of the day, the general fund pays the bills. And so if any of these funds are in trouble, the general fund will be there to help. But all of these funds are healthy. And we are watching the interfunds because every year those interfunds change. So for example, in the food service fund, we can only hold so much fund balance in there. And so we're able to, we have a cost offset. So we look at that every year to see if we can utilize that cost offset or make investments in the program. Like we've made a freezer purchase, we've bought vans in the past. And so we're always utilizing those other funds to figure out how we can support these programs. Same with early childhood, making sure we're competitive in the community, making sure we're offering services at a good price. Special education, that's obviously active team. And then the public improvement, that was the funds we got from some the property next door. And the 160 is the estimated expenditures for our master plan. So that's not going to hit our general fund, so that's good news. Okay, that was fast. I know that was fast. Any questions? Okay, let's move on.
Do we have to
Hold on,
vote on it?
Okay, so I have a motion presented by Treasurer McIntyre, supported by Vice President Stewart. Oh,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now we can move on to the 2026-27 budget adoption.
All right, I'd like to bring forth motion 136 that the board approve the 26-27 budget as presented.
Support.
Okay.
Okay. All right, round two of this one for you. Earlier tonight at 5:30, we had our budget hearing. That's something we have to do by law. And so part of that is going over the budget, but you have to make sure that when you go over the budget, you have your property bills and types of property in there. And so that's why you're seeing all this property stuff in the beginning, is because that's our obligation to the state that says we are adhering to the Uniform Budgeting Act. So first couple slides are going to be our property tax. This is broken down by non-prairie or non-homestead, and then all properties, which are all properties. Your non-prairie is going to be your 18 mills, and that is very important for us because that's our general operating millage. That's what the state expects us to collect in order to make us whole. If we don't renew that 18 mills, we lose out on $11.7 million. And so, again, this is non-homestead, but it's a major part of our budget.
And 1 second, Mr. Kling, thank you. I forwarded the board information earlier tonight that's on our website, the public can view, on this replacement millage that is coming up. Also, Colt is currently reviewing, and the board will review a mailer that will be going out for documentation on that to best explain this. There's a ton of legal language in there, so I would encourage anybody from the community to reach out to myself or Mr. Kling if you have any questions on that replacement millage that will be on August 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, very important. very important for us. Also, a part of the non-PRE or non-homestead property is our 6 mills, which is also included in the all properties. So the 6 mills, that's the state education tax. That's going to the state to help our state aid payments that we receive every month, except for 2 months out of the year. And our 1.9 mills, that's the enhancement millage. That's Wayne County. That's something that's kind of out of our control, but definitely affects us. That's something that we benefit greatly from, and we appreciate it. Thank you, Wayne County. 3.4 mills, that's our debt. That's the mortgage that we have on our capital outlay expense, or our capital projects fund. We just this June sold 67 million in our second series of that bond. So this is the 3.4 mils that generate to pay off the interest and principal payments of that fund. And then 0.9284 is our sinking fund. So that's again going to be capital projects and technology. This is the L4029. This is the form that municipalities use to send out the tax requests per municipality. So this is important. We need this signed tonight because I'm going to turn around and quickly send it to the municipalities in the morning so they can have a signed copy. They already have a draft, but they really like a signed to make it official. So that's really important. This form has all of our taxes broken down. So at the top you have operating, and then you have all of our debt series and the mills. So you have 3.4 mills of debt. They're broken down by all those debt millages. And then on the far right, it's broken in half because you have half collecting in the winter, half collecting in the summer. And then the bottoms are sinking fund millage. So this is like the working form that helps us generate all of the tax revenue we receive. Principal and interest payments on the debt fund. All right, so let's get into the general fund. So same chart as I showed as in last year, but we now have the 26-27 budgeted per pupil amount. So 23, again, this goes back to 2017, but 23-24, no increase. That's the 147.84. Then the 147.84 goes away. We get a big increase in 25, and now we're expected to get a 250 per pupil increase. I think it was in all 3 of the budgets, the executive, Senate, and House. So we're putting that in the budget, a 250 increase on the per pupil side. On the enrollment side, we did get 2 years. The last 2 years, we got a bump from Young Fives programs. Those are expected to kind of level out and now decrease due to population, birth rate population shrinking. So we're expected to see actually a decrease in our enrollment this upcoming year, and that also matches what Rebecca has in the HR world. So for our numbers, we used most likely standard deviation of 1.5, but it was most likely and high. It was 2 times the most likely number plus the high divided by 3. So it was in between the high and most likely, but closer to the most likely side. So that resulted in a loss of 45.5 FTEs, or expected loss of 45 FTEs in enrollment. We'll see. Hopefully we're wrong. Hopefully we're positive or break even, but that's what. And we also, just as a disclaimer, we use Stanford Consultant. This is what they do. They help predict enrollment all across the state. So hopefully they're wrong, and we actually have higher FTE than that. But this is the same. This is the same information broken down by year. The enrollment information by year. All right, moving on to the fun part, revenues. So we're expecting a 2.5% increase in property tax revenue. So that's a $288,000 increase. But bad news is when you get that revenue, they take it away from you in the state aid. So even though we're expecting that property tax to increase, it really is a wash because the state aid takes it back out. So we're expecting a 250 per pupil increase in state aid, a 45 FTE drop in enrollment results. And when you take into account the property tax increase, it only results in about $1 million increase in state revenue. Enhancement millage, we're expecting about a 2% increase in the enhancement millage revenue. So that's a $100,000 increase. Overall, revenues are expected to increase by $1.3 million. That's the good news. Expenditures, contracts, and staffing changes. We kind of went over in more in detail at the budget hearing on the COW, but we've invested in our staff. We've invested in contracts. We've invested in the students too, trying to get rid of, getting rid of split classes. Well, that all, there's a price tag to that. So the total increase in contracts and staffing additions are $2.4 million. Benefit changes, hard cap increase about $367,000. And we actually got a savings in our MIPSTER rate, but it also increases, even with that savings, it's going to increase $304,000 for a total increase of $3.1 million in salary and benefits. Purchase services, we have some and I appreciate that's not a law services, it's a lawn service. So contracted transportation increase of $128,000. We're saving on the lawn service because we're rearranging our grounds crew. Utilities increase, majority of that is going to be electric. We have our gas still hedged out, and that is seeing marginal, I think 5% increases. Our electricity is seeing a 25% increase. So we have a lot of that hedging coming off and new costs coming on. So, and that trend is expected to continue. Hopefully not at 25%, but it's going to be large increases for the foreseeable future. Capital outlay, that's going to be our cook and operations. So the board approved to buy a truck, but that didn't happen this year. It's actually going to hit next year. We also have a lawnmower and a trailer and a loader that we need to purchase. That should be a 1 year, investment. The following year, you shouldn't see that kind of capital outlay investment. I don't think we have any major. I think we might have one lift that we might have to purchase next year. But I'm still working on that schedule with Steve, but I believe we just have one purchase and I think it's a lift. So that'll be significantly lower. Overall total expenditures are increasing by $3.7 million. So same thing, same breakdown as the final budget of this year. We have the revenue over expenditures by object. As you can see, this is the what for a $4.5 million deficit, bringing us to 24% fund balance. Same information by function, same information with historical actuals and our final amendment. So as you can see, the last 2 years above 100, which means we're spending fund balance, right? We're making a planned use of fund balance here in the last 2 years.
Mr. Kling, I think that was well said in the sense that if a layperson saw 102, 104, and okay, you would think, well, how can you spend 104 more percent than 100? But to your point, one of the things that we heard and recognized is the fact of a higher fund balance in a way to do that. And I think you're closing, what I would like people to pay attention to on the closing graph that you have, again, this is the third time that myself, the board, our colleagues have seen this, is that step down that's occurring. And how we want to do that in as a controlled fashion as possible. As we all know, a fund balance can go away far quicker than many people believe. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. These are the other funds. Again, this is projecting out those other fund budgets to 26, 27. We are maintaining healthy funds in all the other funds: food service, early childhood, special education, student activities, sinking, and public improvement. So more to come on those, but we are we have inter funds, as we call them, and they're in and out between the general fund and the other funds. Watch points, currently no state budget. So all the information I need to build this budget, I don't have. You're welcome. So it's a budget based on a lot of projections. Who knows if the 250 is going to stand? Who knows if the 31A and the Section 41 are going to roll into 22B? A lot of unknowns. Two of the budgets were similar. I think it was the executive and Senate, and the House was kind of different. But again, at the end of the day, there's some property tax realignment talks going on. We'll inform you with more information as it comes out, but again, I think Kim said a magic 8 ball. If I shook it, I think for the most part, 250 you can count on. All other things are kind of up in the air, but either way, we'll keep you posted when they come out. And I think it said, I think last year we got the budget in mid-October, and I think it's expected that we might receive it again in October. Mind you, RJ, when are they supposed to have it done?
July 1st, statutory
requirement.
requirement.
We're doing our part. We're getting our budget in by July 1st. So more to come on that. We're planning on an amendment in early to midwinter, so January, February at the latest for an amendment. We're going to be negotiating next spring, so we're going to want to make sure we update this. Once that state budget comes out, we'll update these numbers and get them to you guys ASAP. Enrollment is expected to continue to decline. Birth rate trends are continue to go down everywhere in the state. MIFSTers, they're still, the state's investing in MIFSTers. They're actually holding to their word. They're saying that when these debt liabilities fall off, you will see it in savings. So that's good. Pension, UAL, I kept UAL consistent because it's in and out. When it changes, I'll change it to the budget. Investment income, I also kept that consistent. I have no idea what the federal funds rates are going to do. So that's the investment income staying consistent, so we could hopefully expect to see the same amount of investment income. All right, so this is the fund balance. This is the chart that Dr. Weber was referencing earlier. So as you can see, the last 2 years of this bar graph are the two budgets. So you have the final and the initial, and this is a planned use of fund balance. So the key here is we're investing. We're investing in staff. We're investing in services. But the key for us and the job for everyone in this room is to land the plane in a gentle manner. And so we have some work to do, but as you can see, the budgets are showing that we are doing that work. So auditors were in my office, not my office, but upstairs today. They'll be back Thursday. This was the preliminary audit. They'll be back for the final audit in August. And so then we'll have those audited numbers to confirm, to put that against my final budget. And then obviously in the A1 amendment in the winter, we'll have more updated information leading into negotiations. So that's my time. I think I'm done.
I have a question for you, Mr. Kling.
Yes.
So I know you have a goal for yourself when you do your budgets to be within a certain percentage. What is typically your goal?
So my goal is always to be within 1%. So a 1% variance.
Okay, and how is that possible with this crystal balling magic ball method with no information from the state? How do you do this?
So you get multiple, so we get to amend it. We go through and we go through and we look at what actually happens and we get to amend it. It's not easy, but you have the information that comes out throughout the year and you take it into consideration when you make your budget.
Yeah. Industry standards for variance is what, typically like 3 to 5%?
I mean, I think industry standard, I think anything, I think under 3. I mean, but again, I think that changes. Some auditors might say, I don't know what, that's an auditor question. So when the auditors come in, they'll present the audit. That's a good question.
I did some research and it typically is 3-ish, 5%. So you're being within 1%. I think it's pretty incredible.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, we'll see. I gotta do it. Did it 1 year, gotta do it back to back.
Okay.
So,
Our sports teams can do it, so,
Right.
Just follow the trend,
Just think
Devin.
of the softball, or
Yeah.
which one? No, it was
Yeah.
the track. It was track and
Like
field.
15 years in a row.
14 years.
17.
Also,
Yeah.
Ms. Mabry, thank you for stating that. One of the pieces that our team, and when I say our team, I'm talking about our collective team, board and Colt, is to really do our best to restore trust within some of our bargaining groups. And there were years that the numbers were missed and missed pretty wildly. in ways that made us look like what was said at the table weren't really, I don't want to use a strong word like honest because that's not fair because there were so many variables in there. But the standard that our team is held to be within a percentage point of a projected to an audited budget. We're talking an audited budget. So we have folks upstairs that'll be there. How many weeks do they usually camp out?
Well, so 1 week this week, and then they'll be here for 2 weeks in August.
So you have 4 people poring over every document, every sheet. They target some things. They pressure test areas, I believe. And I'm really proud of the fact that last year we were able to deliver. I will say that there were people in the room earlier who did it twice in a row. Just a point over here. But sincerely, the only way I know how to change narratives that may be in people's minds is to, and Devin knows this, and he said this to me a bunch of times, especially when he was all stressed out a couple weeks ago. He's like, I have to get this within a percent again. Like, that's the way that we do our best to engender trust. Because eventually then the story falls off eventually. That somehow we were hiding money or not doing what we need to do. And so I'm really proud of the team, not only Devin, but like how our team works together, and his core team as well upstairs, who you don't see it, but those folks, they work so well together, and they work so hard because they're committed to it as well. And as a base funded district, it's really pretty amazing when you think what we do. I said some of those numbers earlier tonight, and some of the districts that we compete against. One, I would tell you, if we had the same amount of money they do, it would be $20 million more in the general fund every year, each and every year. If we wanted to really extrapolate, I gave you some 4X examples of what our funding is to kids who go to private school. So, we're not comparing apples to apples when people want to say a 40K education to a 10K education. But the thing I love about us is we confound that narrative, because for 4 times less money, we're outperforming almost everybody. And when I say we, I'm not talking about the board. I'm not talking about Colt. I'm talking about the kids and their parents who really put a premium and focus on education. And I'm really proud of that. So thank you for asking that question, because you do know the variance is much higher than that.
I walked into that trap. I will, we before I even got here, Northville navigated COVID beautifully, and they actually
Beautifully.
They did the right things. They spent it on the right things, and that can create large variances because you're able to, you're getting revenue in such quantities. I think it was $12 million. And you're gaining these revenues and you're trying to spend them in a financially smart way, and that can create variances. And so we did it the right way, but it also built a fund balance, and then it kind of put us in the position that.
And that's a classy statement, because much respect to so many other people who were here before any of us. Many of the districts that you see that are in unfortunate financial situations did not do what Mike's off his team, previous boards did, which is to hold in Colt superintendent, which is to not go on a hiring spree. And a lot of districts who did are now caught out. It's run up so quickly, and it's very unfortunate. So while it was hard for those folks who were here at that time to hold that line in the face of, well, that district's hired 10 more people and this district's hired 15, I'm glad Devin brought that up, because this ability for us to work together to try to stay within that 1% is really born out of the really hard work and difficult decisions of a whole bunch of people who came before us.
Yeah, I just was going to say, I just want to underscore, right, that we have a planned use of the fund balance, right, that we are looking at a $4 million deficit, but that is planned, right, that is planned. And we are planning for that because we have invested in classrooms, right, in our educator salaries.
Well, and a lot of those numbers, I hate to say it, but we saw in the spring.
Yep.
Right, we saw this. We've seen these numbers before. So
yes,
now they're
real, right? Yeah. So I think
so now we have to go through an audit.
Yeah.
yay. And we have to confirm that variance, yay. And then do it again. So, yeah.
But thank you. Thank you to the team for
Yep.
all the hard work on that.
Thank you.
Well, and it also affirms the thinking that the AI task force went through in terms of looking at reducing the costs and being right-sized in the investment for those kinds of resources. And it makes me think about the fact that it's the kids in the seats that are going to benefit from not having split classrooms, or if we're going to reduce numbers, that's our goal, is our kids and their ability to be supported to learn to the maximum. So I think that's directing all of this planned spending of our fund balance in the right areas. We pulled in the grounds, a contract on groundskeeping. We pulled it in internally. Again, there was a net, savings, but it also means that we had to restructure some of the work assignments. But we were willing to do that again because that was fiscally responsible, and we continue to make those kind of small tweaks and changes. Some of them obviously big, but with the eye to the benefit at the desk in the classroom with our teachers and our kids, and that's our job here. And anybody who's thinking about running for the school board, that is really what the job of the school board is to support these kinds of decisions, and to pressure test it at our table too, to think about just making good decisions about what our investments are going to be, and to be willing to have some lively debate about it, but also to come out in the end and doing the right thing. And I think that we've been successful in that. So thank you for your leadership, Karen, as we navigated all of that.
Thank you, and thank Mr. Kling for all of his work and the work of his team.
Thank you. Happy to do it. I also shout out to the whole team, the business office team, working tirelessly, both on, budget, audit, everything that has to go down for a school district to operate. So I have the best team in the world. So shout out to them. Okay.
All right, so if we remember, there was a motion probably presented by Treasurer McIntyre, was supported by Trustee Maurer. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that brings us very nicely to our resolution in support of a 2026-27 school aid budget.
Okay. I'll bring forth motion 137 that the board adopt the resolution in support of urging the governor and legislature to pass the 2026-27 school aid budget by July 1st, 2026.
Support.
I'm not going to read the whole resolution. There's a lot of whereases, but I just want to,
Best Brian Turnbull.
Yeah, I was going to say, can we call Brian over and he can
I can be big.
and do the whole,
Yeah.
just don't throw your knee out.
Okay. I'm not going to stand up either. I'm just going to read. I underlined a couple here. So we have 2 weeks remaining in the fiscal year for our schools. The legislature has not passed a school aid budget. They are supposed to do it by July 1st. Last year, the budget wasn't passed until after the constitutional October 1st deadline. So we already talked about that. It was mid-October that we finally got a budget. That delay forced school districts across Michigan last year to make important planning decisions without any certainty. So public school districts around the state were using their magic 8 balls and their crystal balls trying to figure everything out. Timely state budgets are essential so districts can responsibly plan for staffing, class sizes, transportation, and the educational programs and services students rely on. Northville Public Schools and all public schools across the state are legally required to adopt a balanced budget by the end of June. We just did it. So hopefully, your magic 8 ball works, you know. However, continued uncertainty regarding state funding makes long-term planning more difficult and can create unnecessary challenges for school districts. We also are urging our legislatures to focus to remain on passing a responsible and balanced budget, and reminding them that this is not the time to begin discussions on major reforms like significant altering of property taxes. So July 1st is right around the corner, and hopefully they can do their jobs like we just did ours. So
Thank you for sharing those highlights of it. I think it just emphasizes something that's been a reoccurring theme since 5:30 this evening, that we are having to pass a budget with a lot of unknowns, and it would be nice if those in Lansing supported that efforts. I think also it was demonstrated even when the athletes are here, when we saw all their accolades and their grade points and these hardworking people, students and coaches alike, and they all deserve to have a solid budget that works for them and provides them the best education possible that we can here in our district. So thank you for highlighting that. Does anyone else have any comment before we?
I had one question. Is the constitutional deadline October 1 or July 1?
July.
I think it's July 1st.
July.
So I think the language needs to be updated to say July 1.
it says both.
Oh.
Pass the school aid budget before July 1st, but then a constitutional October 1st deadline.
Is that for the general budget?
I think so.
Maybe
I just want to make sure that we're really clear that, like, if the expectation of the state legislature and the executive branch is to have budgets passed for schools by July 1, that our language is consistent in our.
It does have in here
To pass it before.
to pass the school aid budget before July 1st.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
and the legislature can, if they chose to, split them. And so the school aid could be done by July 1st without an issue. I want to thank the 7 of you for your belief in public education and your sincere belief and voicing of accountability. I was in Lansing a couple weeks ago, meeting with legislators, and there was one particular legislator in general who came into a room of about 100 superintendents and admonished us and told us about our lack of accountability. You can guess who stood up, and
didn't go over very well.
I thought that I think I said something effective. It's deliciously ironic that you want to roll in here and talk to us about accountability when one things you have to do as an elected official is to get your budgets done. And it wasn't a week. It wasn't 2 weeks that we waited. We waited months. And let's not forget as well, what else was up in the air at that time? School meals.
That's what I was going to bring up.
That was up in the air at the time. You all had to make a decision to go ahead and say, are we going to keep doing this? And I had a frank conversation with another legislator who was there with the gentleman who made that comment about finances and so on. And I said, hey, I work with really smart people. If you let us know, and you could even do a multi-year budget, we can do work within that. But we need to know. They're not scared of making decisions. How many decisions did you make tonight? You're not scared of making decisions. Like, if we have to make decisions with the money that we have, great. But stop holding our kids hostage because you want to get something over in your other form of the budget. So you're using our kids as leverage to get something else you want in the general budget. And this is coming on the heels of our school aid fund. Devin, what is it? $1.2 billion in the executive budget that they want to take out of our public school money to give to colleges and universities. And I may offend some of my brothers and sisters in higher education, but I'm going to say this. None of these 7 people sitting right over here have the ability to raise tuition. You can't raise money for our institution by just unilaterally saying, we're going to go ahead and raise tuition on your kids.
Well, I was going to say, most likely both are going to happen.
So, like, we have to fight for that. And it was really Governor Granholm who started, and we learned this at the PTA thing that we went to at Dan Beam, that started this rating of the school aid fund. Now, what she did, though, is after the 1 year of doing it, she replaced the money. And then in the Snyder administration, it started, and it has continued in the Whitmer administration. So this isn't a partisan thing. This is just, in my opinion, it's the opinion of Dr. R.J. Weber, adults not being able to make adult decisions because they care more about their political power and their reelection than they do about the kids we serve. And it's again my opinion, but there is no reason that we should be taking $1.2 billion from our school aid fund to put into institutions that can raise their own money through tuition. I do believe as adults, we should pay for the roads, like we drive on them. So maybe we do need to pay a little bit more for those roads. But on the backs of our kids and school boards across the state and CFOs who don't even know what we're getting, I'm very grateful for the resolution that this board just proffered. And I would certainly hope that other districts around the state would do the same thing.
Well, thank you. So I have a motion properly presented by Vice President Stewart, supported by Secretary Campbell Voitel, and this calls for a roll call.
All right. Trustee Frazier,
Yes.
Mabry,
Yes.
Reagan Mauer,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Campbell Voitel, yes.
Thank you for bringing that to us, Melissa. That I think to Karen or whoever brought it, right? I think it's important that we advocate, right? That we use our voices at this table to press the legislature in the ways that we can.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen.
And I'm glad we can be unified about it. I think we all feel the same way about this.
Yes.
And I think to remind them that our kids aren't pawns. And we did our jobs and we expect you to do yours
And
on time.
we want a future for our kids, right? The state wants a
Absolutely.
future.
Yep.
And those are our kids. Let's remind everybody of that. Like, who grows up and takes things over? It's our kids. So if we're not investing in them, that's not really a great future.
All right, do we have any added agenda items? Oh, any public comment? Okay, so that brings us to our final motion of
All
the
right.
evening.
I'll bring forth motion 138 that the board move to convene in closed session pursuant to Public Act 267 of the Open Meetings Act under Section 8A to conduct periodic personnel evaluation of the superintendent of schools as requested by the superintendent.
Support. Okay,
Call the roll.
I have a motion probably presented by Vice President Stewart, supported by Trustee Mauer, and it is another roll call vote.
I'm getting good at this.
Yeah.
Mabry,
Yes.
Reagan Mauer,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Campbell Voitel is a yes.
So that is the, we'll come back to gavel out at the end. So, that is basically.
Thank you.
there. And,
Thank you.
Should we take a, oh.
Oh, gosh.